correctly. Who knows? We can go back and edit this all out. Okay, are we back in and loading? We finally got some volume on the thing. It is what it is. Okay, we're finally started up. Let's go. We are locked and loaded. A slower start than Dion's. Dion, IT in the pod tonight, Chad? Hey, yo, you might be double focused between right now and the Colorado Buffalo head coach. I don't know, Chad. 1-1 on the record obviously is not too crazy to start the year. I mean, it is what it is, but Houston's sneaky at 2-0, I guess, and then Colorado's also on their third quarterback as well, too, so that's not ideal. You don't want the highest number of the season to, a couple games in to be your quarterback, so we'll see. Hopefully it's finding the right guy eventually, but it has been a little bit of a slow start. We have said that. I don't know if their offense has been necessarily that enthusiastic to start the year here through the first couple of games. But we'll give them a chance. It's only the first quarter. That is the college football game on in the background right now to start up. We also, of course, have the condensed rerun of the Thursday night game from last night. Commanders versus Packers, with the Packers on the short week with the home field. It was, of course, a little bit closer on the scoreboard, but overall, Packers dominating pretty consistently throughout. Jordan Love, of course, gets a couple of days to just have everybody, at least a day, Friday, everybody gets to just hype up the great Jordan Love performance. And it makes sense as well, too, especially like we've talked about with the younger talent at the quarterback position starting to really, of course, find their stride as players in the league as well. And his arm talent just in general in the just in the cycle of the league as well is a lot. I think he is a little underrated at quarterback at this, not maybe underrated, because again, he's definitely getting hyped up, but I think maybe I'm talking for me personally as well too. For me personally, maybe I underrate him slightly, because I feel like I have been a little conditioned now with the mobile quarterbacks to trend that way, for always thinking about, and it's not always about, again, just which guys biasly do you want to have as your own quarterbacks of your own teams as well, but there is an element to that. You're never going to want a guy that's going to get bad results. I guess, I don't know, IT, check the tapes. Did we ever say we like Jimmy G? I'm not sure. We'll have to see. But, I think we like Jimmy G because he was getting results, right, Chad? He was going to the Super Bowl. No, he was only in one Super Bowl, but almost did a couple. Was the reason that he wasn't in one that one year because of interception? I don't know, Jeff. But, for the most part, most of the time, the non-irrational times, we like guys that, of course, get results as well, too. But, again, just stylistically, what that has just developed into at this point at the spot where that is almost, again, kind of a given at almost every quarterback now is just, and I'm, as well as the, like what's a 4-minute mile, like the mile times, the sprint times, they always get faster. Of course, like the athletes are always like, the next generation's always, improving on the records and, again, toppling the athletic achievements of the ones before them. But still, with the way that has just become such a valuable part of how some of these offenses are able to create in the second way. And again, just even that last extra level as well, too. Not even just like, can we win 10, 11 games in a season? But, again, Mahomes being the guy that's won the Super Bowl every year. Lamar being the guy that's won the MVP every year. Like, again, there is and Josh Allen as well, too. There's like, even like those three guys, of course, all are different. There's different ways in which they use their mobility. Mahomes, of course, is, a little bit of like a hybrid, not necessarily like would truck a linebacker, but of course he's not shifty like Lamar and not necessarily like designing like the QB runs for him. But Lamar at this point, there's not, I guess there are still some, but of course, back in the day when he was first developing as a passer, it's like the QB run was a part of the offense that was, extra special as well too, like that kind of play calling element of it. And, a little kind of Fields-esque as well too, with what we're seeing in New York. Is Fields the next Lamar, Chad? Hey, yo, finally, I feel like we can probably go find that ESPN article from a couple of years ago about people, because did Fields might have had a faster combine time maybe than I think maybe that's, of course, now in the NFL, of course, he's proven that he is a runner. But I remember that What is that? He's not necessarily a passer in the NFL, but he's of course had a great start to the year this year. No interceptions through one game. You'll take it if you're a Jets fan, I guess. Pause. But again, with him being projected into the draft, he wasn't necessarily being drafted with the same type of, at least in my mind, like he wasn't, his skill set wasn't being talked about in the same way that Lamar's was. I mean, people were definitely hating on Lamar's skill set for sure. I mean, he went at the last pick in the first round, whereas his Fields even slid a little bit, but it was still like he was, essentially a lottery pick in the NFL. But he was still a guy that was a deep ball kind of a little bit more advanced passer in the Ryan Day system. Or at least, a little bit more results passer in the Ryan Day system than Lamar was, anyways, with some of the just a little bit more variety. I guess people would probably go back and be like, yeah, but he was maybe his reverse Lamar, a pause, chat, yeah, but where maybe his specialty was some of the down the field stuff, and maybe some of the more timing based stuff was not necessarily. And I guess actually that's kind of what Lamar was good at. So maybe he was Chad. We were just still because I still think Fields is going to be a good NFL quarterback. I mean, he is going to maybe be a good NFL quarterback this year as well. We'll have to see. I guess we'll have to see what the wins thing turns into. Is Fields our new guy, Chad? Is Fields the new guy we like that doesn't get results? But at some point, wins are only one stat. Chat, yards and touchdowns. There's so many other stats we can look at to, help beat Fields. PFF grades. But I guess, those guys as mobile. I guess all that being said, Jordan Love is not necessarily a mobile quarterback. Chat, we're getting lost on a little bit of a tangent here. It is what it is. Shout out to Fields, though. We've been in... the Ohio State guys, it is what it is, Chat. At some point, you get into the NFL. I'm not saying it's not something that, you don't necessarily remember. You're like, wait a second, Ohio State guy? But, if you have stock in a player, it is what it is, Chat. I can't deny it. Michigan fans, don't hate me. Sometimes you have stock in an Ohio State player. I can't, the accountant, we see a deal. Fields, 11th pick in the draft, and especially all these years later. I guess we were trying to see if he was going to be the next, but it's been a couple more years. 26 is Lamar, 27 right now. Like, I think they're pretty much, oh no, Lamar 18 draft. Okay, Fields 2021 draft. So there is a couple of seasons. It's all basically the same, honestly. At this point, of course, Lamar, at least 2 MVP. I guess he won the MVP in his second season. I was thinking at least his third as well. But yeah, his second season, Chat, that's kind of crazy because I was thinking that maybe there was that half a season he subbed in and then maybe a slower first season in there. But I guess, it was just that half season, then straight to MVP. Which is great because it takes out a whole season. It means he's, he can play longer as well, too. Just get that right off the resume for sure. But, again, because Love is not necessarily has that type of dynamic talent, I guess, is, in the run game, the way that some of those guys do. That is an element where if I'm ranking a guy, it's almost like at this point, is it a little bit like 3-point shooting in the NBA? And I know that, of course, shout out Simmons. He has, he's compared the Chiefs offense to the Warriors offense in the past as well too. But the idea that, of course, it's like, well, if this guy doesn't shoot threes, that we don't even want him on our team at this point. Like, what are we doing in 2025 if you can't shoot threes? It's like, well, Steph Castle will learn at some point, Chat. And Wemby, I guess, the Spurs will learn at some point. Hey, it's, Chip England, Chat. We need a AI Chip England on the team. I don't know, but with the quarterback, because it's like, well, if I can just get a guy that's also going to be a running quarterback and just be able to scramble for a 3rd and 6 to 3rd and 9 to maybe even 3rd and 12 from time to time, like if I can just get that as part of a skill set for a quarterback, like why wouldn't I take that? For sure, pause. But again, with what Love brings to the table as an arm talent, it still, of course, proves it can be a dynamic thing. And the play caller as well, too. And I just like the fact that it is a little bit more old school in that type of way where he is dropping back and making the reads and, just going through the progressions and finding the guys that are open. But, even a guy like Daniels in this game, like I still, would long-term rather, of course, just have build a franchise, I guess, and I guess Jay Daniels has both the benefit and the pro and the con of not a lot of NFL playing time. You could go, well, it's mostly good at this point, but again, we don't necessarily know what it's going to be mostly when we get to the final part of the, career, hopefully decades down the road. Hey, the first 30-year quarterback, Jaden Daniels. Let's see what happens. But as a long-term quarterback option, I'd still rather have Daniels because of the running threat, and I still think he can kind of, with again the way that he showed that he can, of course, run a dynamic offense at LSU, and then was in kind of not necessarily a one, you can't necessarily say a one-man show because again the Commanders were playing well last year, but the way that he was definitely overachieving in some of the, or creating extra. I don't, however you want to phrase it. It could be overachieving if it's of course, the anomaly season. It could be, the normal thing. But, he was, of course, really creating plays in a lot of those blitz scenarios and high pressure, difficult, situations for quarterbacks to be in. And not to say that, of course, Jordan Love isn't great at that as well, too. We need to pay for some of these advanced stats, chat. Percentage against it. But I guess Pro Football Reference does have some version of that on here. We could go through. I mean, a week in for most of these Illinois guys with 2 weeks at this point is going to be Jordan Love. So, there's really no use, at least in comparing. But, for week to week, it is probably useful to track. We still have a day to look it up to. We'll dig through tomorrow and, get it in the memory. So that way we'll be tracking it throughout the year. Remember who was, when Daniel Jones was like 6th in the league and best passer or whatever at this point. I guess I don't know where PFF had him because I did see, I think maybe they had him in the teens. I, of course, was going through the grades a little bit. You got to check. Hey, we got to see where Quentin Nelson's at every year. It is what it is. But because to me, I just see great offensive line play. Then I got to go check the tape and be like, okay, if there's one thing if there's one offensive lineman you do know is good, it's Quentin Nelson. So that's, at least the knowledge starts there. But it's fun, chat. Right now they have, Latu as the number 1 edge in football. And Nelson, of course, the number 2 guard. 77-2 for an overall grade is a little bit low, but I guess the rest of the guards as well, too. Maybe a weaker week for offensive line play, chat. Hey, the pass block grade. Hey, PFF not watching the right plays there. And Latu, he also had a, not a great pass rush grade. He had the interception as well, too. And you see it reflected in his coverage grade, which was a pretty incredible interception. He was 15, 12 yards down the field when he picked it off. So, pretty great play for a defensive lineman. I don't know if that's part of the tracking where if he is so many yards off of where, he should be, if it's just if he just crazy, pause. I was going to say blew off the analytics, whatever. Blew apart the analytics with dropping back into coverage that far. But, But the pass rush great. We'll see. Latu, of course, if it's overall production, we'll say turnovers are turnovers. So it is what it is. If he's just the best coverage defensive end in the league, chat, Ballard, it's a win. But Warren as well, too, the number 1 tight end. And it is on, a much more well-rounded performance as well, too. The run block grade, number 1, chat. Elite run blocker. Wait, what was Quentin Nelson at? Because, again, that was powering up to number 2. Run block 79.7. Tyler Warren is 88.6. So Tyler Warren's better run blocker than Quentin Nelson, chat. This guy is a great first-round pick. We're here's a guy, chat. We're locked in. But Daniel Jones, 17th to 32. Hey, it's great, chat. A nice, shade of green for the overall grade is better than maybe what we were going to, the benefit of the doubt we were going to give him going into the year. So it's fun in binding with his, when you play Tua, chat, it's Tua the grade booster, chat. It's Tua. We're calling Tua Tagovailoa. The Dolphins are the extra credit class this year, chat. Hey, it is what it is. If you want to boost your grades, you play the Dolphins. And, you get your stats up. It is, Latu, Cam Bynum, all these guys got good grades after playing the Dolphins. Shout out, maybe, I guess, not the linebackers, but this guy's from Michigan State, chat. So, get him off, trade him off the team. It is what it is. Yeah, the Michigan guy, chat, we'll get off that grade. It is what it is. Not necessarily the best overall day for the linebackers. Again, not necessarily maybe having to step up in a lot of ways as well, too. It was a nice week 1 victory for the team. We're glad to see it on the schedule, for sure. But, I don't even remember where we were going with the grades at this point. Something with Jordan Love. Jordan Love's played really well, chat. We love to see it. He's, of course, conducting this offense really well. But second quarter, I guess, we just raved all the way through that first quarter on the replay there. But that's the 10-minute mark, I guess 11-minute mark, 10:58 in the second quarter, is that sideline throw to, is it Sims? Who's number 18? for the Packers. Hey, wait, is that Wicks? Let me double check here, chat. Oh no, Wicks is 13. So it's not. I don't think it was Golden as well. It might have been though. Honestly, we'll have to say. Oh, Golden 0. So we've almost got the whole. Oh, Malik Heath, chat. Okay, at some point. Okay, they got 2 double zeros. I don't even know if that's possible, but I guess this like some practice squad. I guess maybe it's not pup list, but who knows? McCole Hardman. Oh, Clayton Tune's a quarterback, but he's of course a name. So if he's your practice squad receiver, that's at least something. But yeah, Heath was the guy that made the crazy catch. So that really, of course, boosted his grade up as well too. What was his overall stats on the day? Because Tucker Kraft, of course, was the main stats guy for the Packers in the Thursday night game. And that was his one catch, 37 yards down the field. But again, good, of course, Tucker Kraft getting a good workload because he was, again, having a great day as well, too. But, of course, like we were saying, Jordan Love is really good at distributing it around. And there is a diversity. There at least is a, maybe diversity. For sure. There is a good mix of skill sets in the Packers wide receivers. But there is also just a lot of really good skills guys. And that was, I think, something that really stood out as well, too. And that's been kind of a thing. And maybe because of and maybe this is a fantasy thing as well, too. But there hasn't, of course, been a consistent guy that's necessarily jumped out in that type of way where it's like, okay, this guy is a numbers guy every week. Maybe it's Tucker Kraft going forward, Chad. Who knows? But they just haven't had a guy that you would put in the NFL player rankings as a guy that would be one of the best receivers in the league, or like we were saying, from those major number standpoints. And it's a difficult team to try to like bet on as well too, because again, like I already Tucker Kraft for 124. Like, was he balling out in week 1? In week 1 versus Detroit, he was 2 for 16. So if he's like a 4 for 48, a 4 for 64. In week 1, and it's like kind of brewing, like, hey, pause, like Tucker Kraft, yikes, like Tucker Kraft is like maybe, it's like, okay, a lot of good stats weeks in there, even if there's not the crazy high performance, like 124 yards. But that, if you were at, 180 yards, if you were at 90 yards a week for a tight end, 2 weeks regardless, I guess, 2 weeks is 2 weeks, that'd be good 2 weeks to start the year. So, again, on the strength of one performance, but regardless, they haven't, of course, had necessarily the notoriety of a single kind of star player to carry the skill group in that way. And maybe the defense a little bit as well, too, has kind of suffered from that. But I think Parsons, of course, has just made, made the defense. The defense is objectively playing better around them. Is it Nixon the corner that people are raving about right now? And, they cut Jair Alexander. That could have just been regardless of who the, backup corner was on the other team. But, or, on their team. But he does seem like an actual guy that's like a legit guy that you can rely on as well, too. And, of course, McKinney as the safety. But, like, Van Ness they've drafted as a guy that's starting to emerge as well, too. But, imagine playing with Parsons is going to really impact that. But, again, he is more of a multiplier factor, where I guess maybe you could say, Golden could be that guy as well, too, going forward in the year. And he did, what was he at? I guess only 2 targets. Oh, 2 rush attempts is why they got him listed. I was like, why do they have him listed above all the receivers? But it's because they have him listed below all the running backs. So, he's kind of caught in the middle there. Hey, pause. But, yeah, I don't know what, do they have snap count on here? I think they do. Let's see where he is listed at. Oh, okay, 59%. Shout out. So is he number 2 next to Dobbs? Is their number 1, and he does seem like the guy that in maybe like a 3rd and 7 at this point in those type of. Outside, I guess maybe like we're saying Tucker Kraft, it would be Dobbs as the go-to guy, and maybe again that sort of name value thing is, I don't know if again Jordan Love gets the extra boost there, and you just have confidence in Jordan Love making a play at that time as well too, like just being accurate if a receiver is getting enough space on their route. But I think Dobbs is a legit guy that can win against corners. And, I guess, do we have to remember the corners in the NFC at this point? And it also just depends as well, too, on, like, the corners on the teams that are good enough as well. Philly's going to have the all-around stacked team. just regardless. And I guess Detroit could have really good corners as well too, but we'll see. Ultimately, and I guess, speaking of Detroit, they already proved that they were able to move the ball pretty easily against the Detroit defense. So that was, or at least successfully, we should say, against the Detroit defense as well. But I guess as well, Jordan Love playing well, but their skill guys are, I think, again, really, really good. And that's a really balanced group. It's guys that can win routes for sure, but it can also, again, like I like Tucker Kraft creating after the catch as well too, with just really explosive plays. And they look really good. You just had that one, you have Heath subbing in, just making a crazy catch on the sideline as well. So Jordan Love is, of course, like we're saying, is the mobile all around whatever, but he does, I think that skill group is underrated as well too, and is really as equipped as any, as equipped as any. I mean, you'd still, again, go back to the Eagles. You'd still take the name value of the Eagles skill guys. I mean, assuming that, if Love, of course, had the Eagles skill guys, I mean, that would just be crazy. And you would probably think that, he would be a different kind. He would be more unstoppable with those guys. And maybe, that would be actually, of course, really interesting to see, okay, now with the name brand receivers, what does he actually, what does that kind of translate to in terms of performance and dominance and all that stuff. But again, I think if you put Jordan Love, or if you trade Jordan Love in Jalen Hurts right now, I think Jalen Hurts, of course, on this Packers team is really good as well too. And I think it's because like we're saying, the Packers roster is kind of sneaky up there as well. And like we're saying with, of course, and as everybody's noticing, I mean, as you can't help but notice, I mean, it is Micah Parsons for sure. He's just one of the most impactful players in the league in general. But then the whole, of course, like we know, the trades and everything like that. But, and the missed field goal as well, too. So, wait, what was the field goals for the teams here? We have Washington at 1 for 3 overall. So, they did leave 6 points on the board. So, wait a second. What would that mean for the line, chat? Hey, yo. It could have been 24. That could have been, and, who knows at least some of the way the flow of the game plays out if it's a little bit closer. A couple of drives in there, 6 plays, I guess only 17 net yards, 7 plays, only 10 net yards, not necessarily moving the ball a ton. Did they have, okay, at the end, yeah, though, of course, in the fourth quarter, or later in the game, there was some drives, but up until basically halfway to 2/3 of the way through the third quarter, they didn't have a drive of more than 40 yards, and really only one drive of more than 20 yards, chat. Hey, yo, the Commanders' offense, 6, -5, 12, 17, 10, and 7 up until the touchdown. And even on the non-touchdown drives, 6 plays, or 6 yards, 4 plays, turnover on downs, and then 13 yards on the final drive, turnover on downs as well, too, chat. Hey, yo, Packers drives of 96 and 92. And again, the Commanders' defense did have really good, feisty moments last year as well. And is, of course, a veteran group, we'll say. To put it nicely, it is a veteran group of guys. But, again, and maybe is the takeaway the Commanders' skill guys. But, again, Heath had to make a good catch. I don't know, Kraft was still, running around guys and stuff. But it was a little tough for the Commanders' defense. And I thought, again, I thought that last week was a really tough week for Russ. Because maybe that's one to go back and be like, okay, was the Commanders' defense, maybe was that the week where they were swarming? Short week on the road, it is what it is. Older team, maybe they need the rest, chat. Maybe there's a lot of factors we just don't know 2 weeks into the season. But with that Giants game, of course, I thought there was opportunities for Russ to create and for the offense to do some stuff. I don't know if we go back and calculate how many points were left on the board if it was close. Oh, and that's the one right off the upright, chat. Hey, so who's the kicker? Oh, chat, he might be joining Jake Moody on the old free agent roster. I don't know. Maybe Jake Moody gets a second chance in Washington. We'll just have to see. They're going to need another guy. Tucker Kraft, chat. It's like Arch Manning, Texas. Oh, that's Musgrave. Hey, yo, chat. It is what it is. Get our tight ends mixed up. But, yeah, a little Arch Manning-esque against San Jose State. Chat just kind of finding some guys wide open. I don't know if we need to go to, hey, yo, pause. I don't know if we need to go to the all-22. I mean, it is a nice throw over some, I guess, really over nobody. Musgrave's wide open. It is what it is. He's, kind of rolling, kind of falling under the catch as well too. I don't know if that's just poor catching by Musgrave. And there's a couple guys around. I don't know how many yards after the catch he left on the table. But, a little bit better in a row. I don't know if he leads them into some extra yards as well, too. Again, ultimately doesn't matter. They just score all the time in this game for the most part. But, again, to, I guess, go to the Parsons thing again for the defense. And I know we were kind of saying last year, and definitely something that I've been trending toward thinking it's just like a team building type thing is, of course, having a impactful defensive tackle is maybe more important than over a defensive end. And I don't know if that's even like necessarily a discussion that's like, is that even a difference worth debating? It's just like, it is a great defensive lineman, just like a great defensive lineman. But I don't know, you do get into situations like the one I always think about as well too, going back, is the Bosa Quinnen Williams draft. And of course, I guess of course Quinnen Williams went before Bosa, but I think maybe Bosa went before. Was Bosa the second pick? Because Quinnen Williams was the third. Nick Bosa was in the draft. So, yeah, he was the second pick. So, he did end up going before Quinnen Williams. Yeah, and then Farrell. Oh, Farrell was the defensive end right after Quinnen Williams in that draft. Shout out. Is he no longer in the league, chat? Hey, yo. Or is he just indicate? Oh, I guess because Christian Wilkins did retire. And, of course, R.I.P. Dwayne Haskins. And I guess Jonathan Abram not in the league. DeAndre Baker. N'Keal Harry, Chad, the 2019 draft class. Hey, yo, UFL. There better be a stacked USFL team out there, Chad. JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Andy Isabella. Not JJ McCarthy, Chad. He's going to be the JJ that's still in the league, especially after this Monday night game. Jalen Hurd. I mean, Darrell Henderson, shout out. There are some guys. I mean, Darrell Henderson had some good runs for our fantasy team as well, too. So he is a guy that we would love to see in a USFL game. O'Shea, is it? I don't know. Let's see how you say the last name here. From Old Dominion. I guess they don't have pronunciation on here. Zyme, something like that. I think he may have actually had some USFL play, because he is a name that's like, I kind of thought that maybe he'd be a good pass rusher, and maybe he gets a second chance if he has like a crazy run in another league somewhere. But yeah, that one I guess is a little bit, more directly comparing two guys in a drafting situation about kind of which one was more important. And I think at that time as well too, you got, of course, Kansas City that year winning the first Super Bowl, but was it in Denver 2 years ago? Before that, 3 years. So we're a little ways away from the Von Miller thing. 15, Chad. Hey, like a whole half decade away. But I feel like that was still a narrative at that time as well too. And I guess because I don't know if there is a tackle that emerges in the same type of way up until like Chris Jones. You do of course have like Fletcher Cox and stuff on the Eagles team on 17, I guess, for sure. And I don't know if was like Wilfork on that 16 team. I don't know if he was playing up until 16. But yeah, then you would have had Jones being on the Kansas City team, of course, in 19. And, you have Bosa, of course, the Niners. It's been a successful pick. Like, the Niners have been a more successful team than Quinnen Williams. But imagine if the Niners did have Quinnen Williams. Like, that would actually be kind of crazy. And I don't know, would they be better with Quinnen Williams? Again, would they be any different at the end of the day? Maybe it's just a different version, again, of a guy off the, a guy versus the tackle versus a guy versus the center versus all, who knows if it's different. But I guess maybe the thing that Parsons is accentuating anyways with this Packers thing at the end of the day is just the importance of a single dominant defensive lineman, like kind of regardless of who it is. And I guess from a pass rushing standpoint, of course, those guys are that's that spot on the field that's like the developed spot for chasing down the quarterback for sure. So if they do that well, then of course that is them in a way doing their job. The defensive tackles, of course, a little bit more versatile, kind of hold the maintaining the pocket area. Like you don't want necessarily to get that out of control, too much space for the quarterback, and you're also tasked with stopping the run in a little bit of a different way as well too. But even watching Garrett just like single-handedly destroy that fourth quarter against the Bengals in Week 1, and again, are we making exceptions for the rules of like Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett and Chris Jones and just or making just rules based up on the most dominant guys in the league? that's probably a tough thing to do. But the way that he is probably impacting and again, it's still a good defensive line. I think there's still some Kenny Clark Ewing theory, even if he's just, even if they don't even bring in Micah Parsons and just have some of the guys. And chat, in the end of the third quarter, Tucker Kraft was out gaining the Commanders by himself. Hey, 2nd and 18. So, Jaden Daniels underneath to Zach Ertz would help them surpass that total because they were only like 7 yards behind the Packers at that point, or Tucker Kraft, I guess, in the yardage. But again, on a 2nd and 18, like you're probably going to give them 10 to 11 yards because you're still in 3rd and long at that point. Yeah, now you're in 4th and 7 as well too. But yeah, that is maybe just the single. You could say, of course, obviously the quarterback as well too. But quarterbacks need good offensive lines, and they don't necessarily need good receivers all the time. Of course, we've have a ton of great quarterbacks that have maybe not always had the top receiver. I mean, again, we're talking about Jordan Love from a name value standpoint. Does he have a guy right now that's a name brand receiver? Is Edelman going to go down as a all-time great receiver? He was clutch in the playoffs. Him and Brady definitely had a special, special chemistry on the football field for sure. But the actual, again, like the top elite kind of creator guys, the way that they can, of course, elevate the quarterback around them. And again, we can kind of have good receivers as well too, have good numbers. We can have good running backs, have good numbers. Like there's great players that can succeed, of course, with other great players around them. But just on a sort of normal basis, there isn't necessarily, and it's tough because, again, of course, once you stop getting stats in a way that, of course, it does, or, can signify in a way just your overall skill set. We know it doesn't, not for everybody. Some spots in the field don't even have stats in some type of ways, with like the offensive linemen and stuff. But I guess, and then they're more just like advanced stats with, and maybe they're just more advanced stats because they're behind paywalls at this point and weren't necessarily developed into normal box scores beforehand. They're like, okay, well, we can't take the normal box score away from the people out of the newspaper. Like, that'd be too crazy. But I guess the newspaper was a paywall. The original paywall, chat, the newspaper. Nobody talks about that. But I guess there was, books, the Gutenberg Press, the first paywall. But, or, I guess, because otherwise you're just finding something and just like etching it on a clay tablet. But then, do you have the skills to be able to know what you're etching down as well too back in those days? Who knows? But I guess, like we're saying, for a defensive, I guess pass rusher, defensive line, like a tackle can get a little bit more interesting with the sack stuff. But there isn't really a good defensive lineman that doesn't produce or that doesn't have like an impactful moment on a team as well. Like, again, I think you can have good receivers. Of course, maybe that's just like, is that the, sort of the mentality of the position? You can debate that as well too. But you could have good receivers have these, and I guess, of course, you could have defensive linemen, of course, go into cold streaks as well too. Everybody's susceptible to that. But just sort of a baseline guy going out there and performing the basic football role. Of course, we know that, again, the defensive lineman is one of the most valuable in the league. That's not necessarily debated. But the way that is just able to singularly impact the rest of the guys as well too and elevate this unit, because, again, this is a terrifying thing to watch, Chad. And I do think that the Commanders' offense, is it going to be an elite offense this year? Who knows? But I think Jaden Daniels has played well in these first two. I think he's, again, I guess maybe the Commanders' offense is not going to be an elite offense because it hasn't looked that great. Some of the other pieces around Daniels, and I know, if we really, I guess if we go back to the All-22 and really dive into some of the Jaden Daniels numbers, then maybe, I don't know if we have to go back and re-edit our quarterback rankings. We'll have to see. It seems like that's what people are saying after 2 weeks. Ayo, chat. But I haven't necessarily thought that, again, in terms of like what are the amazing opportunities for him to be creating here so far through the first 2 games. I don't think he's necessarily had a ton, but maybe he is kind of developing. His sophomore slump, of course, happens as well too. But this Packers defense is just really scary, and the Parsons just game-wrecking ability, and him now, of course, as well, him, like we're saying, the Packers defense is just a better unit than the Cowboys defense. But there was good years there where the Cowboys defense was stacked and fully healthy, and I'm forgetting like the names of like some of the tackles defensive tackles that they had there. But of course, DeMarcus Lawrence still able to give you Pro Bowl to all pro-ish level production, and then the corners kind of being healthy there in the mix. I don't know, again, the health of all of them overlapping necessarily, but there was, like we're saying, good years with the Cowboys defense in there as well, or, you know, talented years as well too for that unit. But this is maybe the best overall unit that he's played with, and the other sort of pass rushers as well too, and the depth of that position. And again, there's just like a youth. I guess maybe like Gary hasn't, you know, necessarily been like totally healthy through the first couple of years in his career. But, you know, again, and Myles Garrett as well too is just like another perfect example. Like Myles Garrett, it's just impossible for him, if he's good at football as a defensive end, it's impossible for him to have a bad year. And the Browns defense has always been feisty because it's just like, well, Myles Garrett can just wreck the game in the fourth quarter if the game is close, and just have moments like that where he's just taking on the entire, like Cincinnati, like you can't even blame like, oh, you know, he was the tackle, he was crushing the tackle, like one-on-one, like he just destroys entire offensive lines. Like again, you know, Aaron Donald was that way. It's just like, okay, I guess, you know, there are great offensive linemen that do, of course, you know, obviously put up a fight against these guys. And great, there's going to be a guy against Garrett this year. We're like, oh, do we see, you know, it's halftime and Garrett, you know, Sunday night, I guess, do the Browns have any Sunday night games? But Collinsworth, maybe, I don't know, he calls like decides to get on the call for a Myles Garrett game. He's like, I just have to call a Myles Garrett game. I just love watching this guy call football. YouTube, get a game so I can call Myles Garrett again. But maybe he just gets on the call and is like, you know, here's a guy in the fourth quarter, as long as you keep it close, you know, you can get in the mix. But like we're saying, you can have a quarterback in sort of a poor system, and if the offensive line is not there, you know, maybe Stroud is an example. Like if Stroud, or, you know, again, maybe Jane Daniels on the other side of this, where I could still really like all the production. And I guess, like we're saying, you know, Parsons and the Cowboys defense itself over the last couple of years hasn't necessarily been the best stats, you know, the most reliable defense in the league. And maybe there are moments we could go back and watch tape and be like, oh, did Parsons not have a pressure here in the fourth quarter where it could have been stepping up in the playoff moment, or, you know, whatever. They're not necessarily as memorable as the moments, some of the offensive moments they've had over the last couple of years in the playoffs. And of course, I think the most recent playoff game against the Packers wasn't even really close as well too. So I don't know if that's Parsons' fault as well. We may have to go back and look at, but you know, Parsons, maybe that's the turning point game for him as well. Maybe, you know, of course he's going to be extra motivated and hungry. You know, the Doncic trade was the trade that was brought up in the moment, another Dallas trade. So, you know, that type of chip on the shoulder mentality from a star player, I'm sure is going to be replicated through Parsons. See, like Parsons definitely has, of course, had his plays where he'll just, like, of course, take on, again, a whole offensive line as well, too. But I guess there he is right there fighting off the double team. But it is a little bit more action movie, like John Wickish, where it is a little like kind of one-on-one, you know, but like it's like, okay, here's the tackle, then here's the guard and the center. Maybe it's a little quick as well too. Again, it's John Wick. He can kind of swiftly move through. But, you know, Myles Garrett's like The Rock in Fast Five. Like he's just plowing through guys. And The Rock, I guess The Rock kind of gets beat up in Fast Five. So I don't know if that's the best example. Myles Garrett's like Arnold in Predator, Chad. Here's a guy that's just, no offensive line can stop him. They might need an alien from space to stop Myles Garrett. But yeah, I guess, you know, are we saying defensive end over quarterback, Chad? I don't know. It's hot take time. Ayo, Micah Parsons, but over Jordan Love. I'm just saying, like, we've kind of I guess subconsciously maybe been trending there as well too, like we're saying with the Chris Jones stuff over the last couple of years. Because at the end of the day, some of these playoff moments as well, you know, all the Pat Mahomes clutch, you know, again, here's a guy, but he is still a guy that has been in the clutch moments, the guy that you can rely on to get you in these games, to win you these games and get you to the Super Bowl and win these games and stuff. But Chris Jones, maybe over the course of the last couple of seasons, sort of game to game, play to play, might be the best player on the Chiefs. Like, again, if we were doing the technical grade over the last couple of years, I don't know. The legacy rankings, again, the sort of NFL 100, I think Mahomes is still the guy. And again, it's the quarterback spot as well, too. But we're not doing the Bill Simmons here, where it's like, oh, I guess again that first game against the Chargers was a little bit head scratching as well too. You assume it's not going to be 17 games of that, and there is, of course, there's always going to be the offensive line stuff, but you can't at some point you can as well too deny the throws that he's missing. And I guess yes, you want a great situation all the time for your quarterbacks, but also if there's going to be a game where, or just an offense in general where it's like, hey, maybe we only have 2 or 3 opportunities a game to really get a clean opportunity down the field, like you would assume, of course, Mahomes, we got to be able to capitalize that when you actually have those chances as well. But again, like just like we always say, the football guy rankings, maybe Chris Jones is the guy in the football guy rankings sort of aspect of it. And I guess you could say, maybe going back, like we say, Donald on the Rams, of course, he's sort of the football guy. I guess, going back all the way, at this point now, a decade ago to the Broncos, not even researching from the 19 draft class. But, I'll give Von Miller as a defensive end as well, too. But I don't know, Che. I guess I'm not bold enough to actually say defensive end is more valuable than quarterback, because if I was actually building a team, I think I would still actually take a quarterback, but I don't, again, I don't know, Chad. I would just have to take best player available. We would just have to stick to our board. And I guess I would actually have to, sit down and rank out, and really think about, if we were building a team from scratch. And again, I guess are we going to assemble the Cleveland Browns again, Chad? Because make no mistake, are we going to get Shador and maybe he slide later in the 5th in this redraft? But I guess are there a couple of Owusu, the linebacker? There's some players in the Browns that you do have, you do pop out on tape, of course, for sure. Pause. But, I don't know how many quarterbacks. Because, again, you're still going to say the top 3 quarterbacks in the league for the big 3 of quarterbacks, Mahomes. I almost said, Burrow, he's the guy that's in the mix, of course, for sure. But Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar, those guys, of course, are going to be off the board first. You're assuming even the next tier, like we're saying, like a guy like Jordan Love versus Myles Garrett is interesting. And maybe that is Jordan Love this season proving himself, and maybe Myles Garrett, of course, has, is he up until this point been the 25th guy in a redraft of the 25th best player in the league? I don't think that's been the case as well too. But you do get into that conversation where I don't know if you start getting to like Brock Purdy or like what's the level, but you could get, of course, 15, maybe 16 first half of quarterbacks and still be just saying that again is the most important spot, and even a sort of above average guy to run the offense competently is a guy that we want there. But I don't know, again, like you go through the Super Bowls, like it's never really that, like it can be, and of course teams can get really close, but once you kind of look back in history as well too, like, and I know that of course we're pro Hurts here on this pod, but I don't know why Hurts can't be like a Terry Bradshaw type as well too, where again, is Terry Bradshaw always sort of the consensus top 10 quarterback? But I don't know if you have to, if he's a guy that's like, oh, you quote unquote have to put him up there. But again, you really don't as well too, because he won those 4 Super Bowls, and yes, the defense was stacked, but also, it's Terry Bradshaw. So maybe the post career as well too is helped. He's like, I didn't put up great stats, so I got to really throw some heat in these pre games and really get the people to love it. If the people love my takes, they'll overlook the interceptions on the box score and just say it was the 70s, check. Because make no mistake, I mean, Terry Bradshaw had a couple other things probably, in the way of production outside of just the fact that it was just 70s offense. I don't know, 70s, training habits and 70s little lifestyle habits. I don't know, Chad. Ayo. But of course, he is a guy, of course, that is, again, regarded as one of the best quarterbacks of all time, even if there's a tiering that can happen as well too in some of these lists. And it'll be interesting to see as well too his name as well with like guys like Allen and Lamar, where if they get one Super Bowl, then I feel like it is tough, because does Terry Bradshaw, we have to go back and go through does he have the moments of the the collapse of some of the guys? Well, that's where it of course gets a little bit tough, where it's like there's just maybe a constant string of some brutal plays that can lead to some of these defeats as well too. But yeah, I guess what we're saying is the case is getting close, Chad. The case is getting close. We'll have to see what continues to happen here this year with the Packers, and if they actually trend to be a Super Bowl team. But again, the balance of the defense right now, the way the skill guys are helping again, Jordan Love is there's a double sort of a double elevation. I don't even know what to pause anymore, chat. But is there a double elevation thing that's happening sort of with the Packers? I guess that just is everybody, of course, getting better as well too. But it is just a really good team, and maybe again with the way that Love has been in the league a couple years, there is a mix of a veteranism with sort of into his peak of his powers emergence that's starting to happen as well too, where like we've said Hurts is also in that mix, but the rest of the NFC is really tough. And of course the Lions were really the only, I don't want to say the Lions were the only other team, but from a balanced, sort of the prepared game planning plays and this stuff that that they were having with Ben Johnson on offense and Aaron Glenn on defense. And again, like, the Jets are good this year. Like the Aaron Glenn thing is maybe even more of a bigger loss than the Ben Johnson thing as well too, even though again, the way that Goff's production kind of fluctuates with some of the coaching changes is definitely, again, going to kind of maybe be directly retied to the guy who replaces Ben Johnson as well. But they were really one of the only other Super Bowl contending type teams in the NFC last year from a really, you have Washington again in the sort of conference championship and Jane Daniels playing insane. And it was like, okay, are they going to make a match? Like what is going to be the magical run here? But of course, again, Philly really dominated that entire playoffs outside of that Rams game. And again, that wasn't a team that was necessarily a dominant team and a team that we were looking at this season as that kind of stacked, talented, shout out to the Commanders, But again, the Vikings at 14 wins, and they, of course, improved the defense, but we'll just have to continue to see with McCarthy, and we're pro McCarthy on this pod, but at least from a sort of national consensus confidence sort of thing, when, I guess when the rest of you guys catch up to us and believing in McCarthy. But there is, and that's why people were, of course, kind of eyeing Tampa Bay this year, because they've been a roster that has been to kind of, there's been a lot of pieces that have been there for some years, so there is maybe some chemistry that is formed. Maybe there's still some good years left for some of their I don't know if it's like a maybe, but there's definitely some good years left for some of their players, but they're getting good mix of young talent in there as well too. And the Rams with Stafford again, that's just the shift in the NFC right now with the quarterback spot, because I don't know if you could necessarily say that it's happening in the AFC, because again, even if we like is happening after week one, like we walk away from the year and it's like, oh man, from a sort of actual individual talent on the field standpoint, Lamar and Josh Allen are sort of in a class above Mahomes. Like, I don't think we haven't necessarily, again, been in that spot over the last couple of years as well. Again, Josh Allen and Lamar have been winning the MVPs. It's been the playoff results that have been the thing that have continued to power Mahomes, and he's been right there with some of the regular season stuff as well too, even if it's been a little bit of a step back from where it was in the past. But even still, with the way he was playing, he's not going to be not a top 10 quarterback even after week one at this point. I don't even know if that's just still the Mahomes sort of benefit of the doubt that he gets. And okay, we're not, I guess here, do we check the PFF grade? What is PFF? Because again, once they were kind of losing the game, it's like, I guess we're just freestyling and making plays. Like, what was his PFF grade on that one pass that he had where it was obviously a cool pass, but the score, again, it's Mahomes. It's been like almost a decade of it, so we're bored of Mahomes at this point. He's won 3 Super Bowls, but they were losing in the game, and so he's 11th. Okay, see, I guess he is not a top 10 quarterback, and I think maybe he was kind of in the teens range last year as well too. But again, it's more that tier, like he's probably closely ranked to like the 8th or 9th or 8th best guy in the league. Now if we have to go through and find all the ratings now, see what's up here. Where do they have Herbert after the game as well too? Herbert might be like 1, 2, or 3. Honestly, we'll see if he gets that kind of hype. Oh, not quite, chat. Ayo, PFF says Herbert's performance overrated. Okay, no, they have him at 6. 6th best quarterback in the league. You would assume that the Bills and the Ravens, of course, would have top 3. Oh, Josh Allen, what is he, 4 or 5? Hey, okay, so he's 4, chat. Hey, of course, for us people just mooching off the free site, they only show us the top 3 initially. Then you have to click on the page. Hey, secrets of PFF, chat. unveiled. This is a new segment we have called Rem Finds Out, and we unveil that PFF does show you the player grades for everybody. You just have to click on them individually if it's not top 3. So Lamar is 10. So Lamar only, one spot on the PFF grade behind Mahomes. So, that's the most encouraging thing I've seen about, I feel about Mahomes now, over the past week going into this game. Because this Eagles game is going to be a potential, you can't say it's a season writing off type game for the Chiefs in week 2. Because, again, guess what? The wild card is still a possibility. I know, again, when things go bad, it's like they do, of course, kind of spiral maybe worse than just, kind of bad. Things can go, really bad more often than not. But you would still assume that if it's, I guess, do we look last year? Because 10 wins was wild card, I think, in the AFC. Broncos were 10, and Cincinnati was 9-8. So I guess if we're just copy and pasting this record from last year to this year, I guess Kansas City at 15-2. Are we going to get a 15-2 team? Maybe it is Buffalo, honestly, or Baltimore, with the way they looked. I guess the fourth quarter is. The problem is they're going to have, if it's Baltimore, if the Baltimore we know, and if it's the Baltimore we saw in week 1, they're going to have, at least 2 more of those in the season. Or at least 1 more of those, and then 1 more, collapse-type game as well, too, where it's Baltimore Thursday night didn't quite show up tonight. Or just didn't play well, the other team was around and, won the game or whatever. So they're, but it'll be close enough. So I guess, are the Chiefs going to be 9-8 in the 8th seed in the AFC? Still feels... Again, not, I guess, impossible after the way they played in week 1. But still feels like a little bit of a reach, especially last year with just thinking about, the Chargers and the Steelers being wild card. I guess really all 3 of the wild card teams, they had good records. And I guess the Chiefs had good records as well, too. But it's not like we felt good about some of those teams necessarily at their records. So I guess, if teams are able, and it's schedule related as well, too. If the certain teams are playing not 100%, but they're playing a little bit easier games, but the Chiefs are just playing all tough games, we get, of course, how that could work out. But I guess momentum-wise, of course, this is a really tough week for him to have the Eagles in week 2 after, again, a tough week 1 because the Chargers, AFC West, there has been that AFC West dominance, but you're on the road, Sao Paulo, the Chargers might be good, so it could be just a brutal stretch of games, for a large part to start the year, for sure, but especially, week 1 and 2. Right off the bat. But, yeah, I guess all that being said, we'll have to see pass rusher or quarterback, chat. Hey, yo, do we dare say it? I mean, I guess we won't say it. Maybe some guy in IT will say it. We'll be like, no, that's not right. But, I don't know. It's crazy that our guys in IT are talking like that. But, yeah, Parsons is pretty dominant here on this Packers team. And I guess here, let's see through 2 games, chat. Hey, yo, since we're referencing PFF, and since we did have the Packers roster pulled up here, maybe we didn't have it pulled up as recently as we thought. Okay, here is the team again. Shout out Malik Heath. We've got Parsons, no grade for top 3. Okay, but he is 5th. Hey, yo, Chad. So again, not to say the PFF grade is the, of course, standard, but just to get an outside opinion, I guess, second opinion, Chad. Hey, yo, from the guys over at the people, the fine people over at PFF crunching the numbers. But yeah, I guess for the Commanders again, I don't know if I'd be super bummed out about the way that Jaden Daniels played. I guess we'll see what our PFF friends think about that, because again, I guess Jakrowski Merritt, the 2nd overall running back, Chet. Hey, yo, PFF, I don't even think did he even get snaps in this last game? Do we have to go back to snap count real quick? I guess, shout out to Austin Eckler, of course, with the Achilles injury. I don't know what happened for snap count after that. I guess 4 for 17. Eckler 8 for 17, but I don't know. There's probably pass blocking, receiving stuff with Eckler that he's still able to go. Receiving grade for Jakrowski Merritt, not great, but number 1 run grade in the league, chat. Hey, yo. Is crazy. Wait, what did he do last week against the Giants? So he's 4 for 17. Oh, 10 for 82 and a touchdown? Okay, yeah, so 8 yards a carry is, of course, pretty crazy. And then, 4 for 17, still, I guess, 4.3. So it's not going to, destroy his average for the year from a full season standpoint if he has some good other games. as well too. But Daniels, let's see here, Chet. The Wild PFF grades early on, 19th. Okay, again, it's not like best quarterback in the league, but it's not necessarily label him as playing poorly, though it is a little closer, Chet. I was hoping maybe he'd be top 15 secretly, but again, you're gonna have just guys with good stats and stuff above him as well too. But they had Caleb Williams at 13, so that was another one that I was like, more encouraging than not. Maybe a little bit better than some of the eye test stuff. Again, he was hitting a lot of throws. I guess at one point in Monday night he was like 10 for 10, but he had like 89 yards. So it's like, I guess what are we getting here? So it's like Caleb Williams, Chad. We said one day he'd be as good as Mahomes and Lamar, Chad. We didn't know Mahomes and Lamar would be the 10th and 11th best quarterbacks in the league. But Caleb Williams, if he's the 13th best quarterback in the league, I guess, Bears fans, I don't know if they're feeling like that right now. But, we'll see. I guess, do they have a tough game this week as well, too? And, again, this division is going to be tough because the Lions are going to be a tough out. Yeah, so the Lions this week, you've got just the potential of big plays from guys like Hutchinson. I mean, again, their secondary overall is really good. Even if we're trying to remember who their corners were earlier, you still got like Brian Branch and stuff back there as well too, creating plays. So that's going to be a tough one for, and I guess maybe, Ben Johnson against his old team. We'll have to see if that is, I guess if it was Aaron Glenn, maybe that would be interesting, but I don't know. Maybe Dan Campbell was more involved in the actual defensive schematics than we thought. But him maybe knowing some tendencies could be helpful for sure. I mean, it could potentially give him an advantage in some ways. But I don't know if the Vikings were another one to kind of go through the individual grades of the game. And again, it was a good fourth quarter, like kind of a good run that the Vikings had. But, and if you're giving up stats and stuff, then it is what it is. And I think there is a degree, of course, they're a little bit okay with that as well too, kind of keeping a lot of the stuff in front of them. But like their corners and stuff, like didn't really have that great of grades. And again, I think that kind of goes to the fact that we were saying that, again, there was some missed opportunities there for Williams as well too, to kind of maybe highlight some of that stuff. So that is one that'll be interesting I'm honestly a little bit, I guess I can't say more concerned about the Vikings defense than I am about their offense. Cause again, the Vikings offense just with McCarthy there is, I guess, has that more unproven element. But I do think that, again, maybe they don't have quite the name value pass rush. We thought they have a good overall defensive line for sure. And again, a lot of guys you would still think have really good productive years. And maybe Dallas Turner, like we're saying, continues to really step up as well too. I guess he didn't have a great first game though against Chicago. But yeah, they had all the corner. I guess outside of Metellus, but Murphy, Chad. Hey, I guess I don't know if we start calling out names. Our guy Rogers, I guess we are, Chad. Rogers, we have stock in. Bynum on the Colts, Rogers on the Vikings is actually kind of an unintentional players ending up on the, the quote unquote swap teams, but actually working out for the Colts is kind of fun. And we still like Rogers as well too. I guess just Bears skills guys are good, so that can continue to be a thing that helps with the Caleb Williams stuff. Of course, is this? Oh yeah, Jonathan Allen. That's right. So again, it is stacked, and Jonathan Allen can be a guy as well too. He can be a guy. I don't know if he's like is he a Myles Garrett type guy, but he can be. I guess 30. There is the curse, chat. Hey yo, but that is, I think, because I don't know if Jefferson necessarily played like crazy well in the game on Monday night. I think that there's a chemistry that can continue to be worked out between him and McCarthy as well. But I think the kind of, again, the charisma and the playmanship that he showed in that game, if you can just give the rest, and obviously he has to continue to play well and do all this stuff. Oh, Chad, we got the Colorado quarterback with the little shuffle on 3rd and 2. We haven't kind of lost, not really been paying attention to this game, at least, mentioning it, but a minute left in the second quarter, and it is 16-7, so I know it's not great for Colorado fans, but it hasn't, again, been a great game for Colorado. So them being only about a score out going into halftime is not too bad. So, 9 points. It is technically 2 scores, but it's close enough to be, it's close enough to be a close game going into halftime if they're able to create something here, and you get a fun play by the Colorado quarterback to maybe spark some momentum. And is that the guy that started, or is that a fourth quarterback, Chad? Do we have to actually pay attention to this game real quick? Do we have two quarterbacks in the box score here? Let's see what happened. Was that Staub? I think. Oh, that was Staub. Okay, Staub number. I was gonna say I thought Staub was 13, but who's 13, Chad? Wicks is 13, but I think that was for the Packers. I don't know. Yeah, 11 for 16, 95 yards for Staub, but not necessarily turning the ball over. I don't know, something. Wegman for the Cougars. Okay, that's kind of fun. I think he was a Texas A&M guy maybe back in the day. So highly recruited, been around, maybe some upside there as well. I guess 7 for 14 a little crazy, but 112. He is maybe being aggressive as well too. I guess we'll pay more attention to the Houston offense when they are on the field. But yeah, I guess I continue to trust what McCarthy can be as well. And they had him as 24th again. If you're going over the course of the game as well too, it wouldn't necessarily be a great 4-quarter game to grade out. But we also have to remember, like, that was McCarthy's first start, right? Because he didn't start at all last year in some game. I don't remember if he threw some passes. I think he did, of course, see some snaps and play. Oh, I guess that's right. He got hurt, Chad. I'm an idiot. How could I forget? Our guy got hurt. That's right. Maybe there was talk. I don't know, Chad. But yeah, he did, of course, first snaps ever. I guess we're thinking of like the preseason. The year before is when he would have played as well. And it's not like I guess they would have been needing to run special plays for him as well too. He was just playing at that time. But yeah, literally his first NFL start, and there was a figuring it out thing that happened that was just really encouraging to see, in a fight through mentality. And that pick six kind of sparking him in that way is just stuff that you don't really see from younger players like that. And it is maybe also a credit to some of the coaching staff, McConnell, just continuing to rely on their guy. But I think that's been kind of the theme with McCarthy, and I honestly think that this is why they bought into McCarthy like this, is because he does have this type of charisma about him. And he's not, is he a salesman, Chad? I don't know if he's like, in another life, McCarthy's like a really, running a car lot somewhere, and just, all of a sudden there's like 6 McCarthy Honda lots in town. But he is a guy that you do feel like, again, it's like he's going to figure this out at some point. And that was the whole thing with him at Michigan as well too. I mean, he was obviously leading that team to be really, really good, but he was not necessarily, I mean, again, we got to give him credit. He was hitting his plays, and there was just also a sort of what they were asking of him, but it wasn't like he was being, again, viewed as one of necessarily like, I guess, the Caleb Williams and some of the other like elite level guys. But this is, again, with him going into the NFL as well too. It's just like he's gonna figure out how to make the winning plays in the NFL and not cost the team at the end of the game. And that's even after, again, the TCU thing as well too. Like, he fought back after that from a whole season standpoint at Michigan. And I think I might even underrate that as well too, because again, I probably was just holding on to that as a thing that happened, as like, kind of salty about that performance. But to be able to bounce back, win the title is, of course, pretty crazy. Oh, Chad, did stop. Fumble on the goal line. I think they called it a touchdown. Yeah, but that's close. He got tackled diving into the end zone and lost the football. So, yeah, they can go 14-16 here. If they do go for 2, 15-16. But, again, making it a close game going into halftime after, not necessarily the most stacked first half is a encouraging thing. And I don't remember. I think they might get the ball to start. I don't know. But, yeah, McCarthy is, again, like a guy that I could actually see buying in on at playoff time as well too. And I don't know if he needs, another moment at the end of the season to, make him have revenge for the playoffs. Like, okay, next year motivated to get back and then win a couple games in the playoffs. But I think honestly, like it's a weird season for the Vikings because they were a 14-win team that was like, could they be in the conference championship or a Super Bowl with the record and maybe some of the stats and the way they were, the way that they were playing. But when they do the quarterback change, And it's not just even, a team doing a quarterback change. It's a team just doing a franchise reset at the quarterback position. Again, not necessarily resetting from Sam Darnold, but saying that we're starting with a guy that may need some time to figure this out. And starting with a guy that is a long-term option that we're willing to develop into a guy that we think can be our franchise guy. Ooh, Chad, it's going to be close. That's going to be close. I think the football might have crossed the goal line while he was in the air, while he was spinning over. But I think when he landed, his wrist was on the outside. So I guess, easy call. They're going to line up for the extra point and not spend too much time reviewing it. But again, dramatic play. So shout out. But yeah, I guess, like I'm saying, McCarthy is, hey, we're buying in on the Minnesota Vikings, chat. You guys didn't see it coming. Hey, yo, pause. You guys couldn't have guessed that. But after leading Michigan to the first national title in like 135, it wasn't that long. But yeah, having first national title in a long time. 97, it was, I guess, first in our lifetime as well, too. Hey, yo, barely. I guess, maybe even up until mid-aughts, teens as well, too. A title as like a 10-year-old, of course, would have been fun. As well, I say, is cool. I guess we didn't necessarily win one at that age, but from a sports standpoint, like watching standpoint, but that of course would be a good age to. I guess the Colts were in the Super Bowl against the Saints around that time, so that would have been of course a fun. We would have always have remembered that, but every year it's like this is the perfect year, Chad. Once you're in your obviously winning sports titles in your 20s is the best time, and then once we get as the time goes on, it's like this is obviously the best years to be winning sports titles. But shout out, I guess, to the NFC quarterbacks. We'll have to see how they shape out this year. But yeah, I do again shout out really like McCarthy for this class. Well, I don't know, McCarthy MVP. I don't know if he's gonna get in the Jordan Love class, but he would be fun guy to make the NFC North interesting division in football. And yeah, I guess don't count out the Commanders as a wild card team yet as well too. I don't know if people are, and I don't know necessarily what their assets are as well too. Like, do they have their first round pick this year? I don't know if this is an NBA scenario yet for the NBA or for the NFL, where all these teams are just starting to trade their picks. But they could be a sneaky make a move team. I don't know. They did bring in Deebo Samuel, of course, in the offseason, and he's been good for him. His resurgence has been really fun. And I think McLaurin get going a little bit would be helpful to giving this offense a boost. And maybe, you don't want to say that the Eckler injury, obviously it's not like him in the running back room is good, but maybe there would have been a time where they would have needed to commit more to McCroskey and Merritt. I don't really know what that situation is. Again, with them trading a guy, but then him not playing him. I guess maybe they like some of the other guys as well too on their depth chart. I guess that wouldn't be shocking. What do we got here? Jeremy McNichols. That's right. Shout out Donovan Edwards. Oh, that's your guy, Chad. Hey, yo. Once he's available, I don't know, practice squad. Is that what they're saying here? Maybe Donovan. Did they just sign him in response to the injury? That might be the move, Chad. Donovan Edwards. Is Haskins still on the Titans, or do they bring in Haskins as well? Whoa, Sam Hartman is the backup on this team. And Josh Johnson? Chad, do the Commanders have the best QB room in the league? Have we would ever have said that before? Whoa! Hey, yo, Chad, getting so excited. I guess Josh Johnson's 40. Whoa, Chad, we might have another voice crack at that. That's crazy. 40. Hey, yo. Where does are we hey, yo, Chad. Is time going by? I mean, I guess 40's not even, obviously. Shout out. The man's in the prime of life. Prime of life. But, hey, rest in peace, Chandler. But that's a good, obviously, starter and bench guy and, third string veteran guy who, if both your quarterbacks got hurt for some reason in the same game and Josh had to come in as emergency QB, like, that's not your worst option. I guess he's listed as inactive. So Mariota as well, too. Like, that's four. Those four are stacked, Chad. Hey, yo. I don't know if you have to go through all the quarterback rooms. Obviously, you're going to get to a point where it's just like, well, Daniels wins at number 1, so then nobody really competes. I guess the Ravens brought back Huntley as well. So he was on the Browns for a second, collecting some intel. And then I think, they brought him back. Oh, and they have Cooper Rush? Whoa, chat. The Ravens. That's a interesting quarterback option for their quarterback room. Is Cooper Rush the backup? on that team, because I don't know. It always seems like they wanted the sort of athletic quarterback as well too, to be the backup. Do the Bills still have Trubisky as the backup? I don't know if he's. Yeah, I mean, he has been a guy that I think has been valued in the room for sure. Of course, has been really willing to stick around, and I think he also knows that this is, Josh. This could be a Super Bowl team like Trubisky. I don't think Shout out. Maybe there was a time where could Trubisky have ever quarterbacked the Super Bowl team? Hey, yo, Chet, that 11-5 year, like, how good would that team had to have been? I don't know. That year of Trubisky on the Eagles team from last year. See, that's where you have to get Jay-Z. I guess, or how much credit we're giving Jalen Hurts, but that team probably loses like the divisional round. Hey, yo, it is what it is. Bouchel as your third guy. It's kind of fun. I guess it's them and the Browns, Chet. Hey, yo, with Flacco, Shador, and Dylan Gabriel. And it's actually, Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and Shador as well too. Whoa, Minshew on the Chiefs, Chat. Oh, Chat, Minshew's on the Chiefs. There might be a game where Mahomes like rolls an ankle and Minshew's like 7 for 7 on the the drive. It's like second quarter, Minshew's in 6 for 6 to start the first half and to end the first half, and then starts like 4 for 4 on the next drive. It's like Minshew hasn't missed a pass, and Mahomes is, hasn't been limping, but doesn't have his helmet. I don't know if he gets Peyton Manning at 29 years old, but that would be funny. Minshew, I guess he's like a couple months younger than Mahomes. I could see that. I could see a random Minshew drive and a half though. If Mahomes if Mahomes gets hit at some point, there'll be like a Mahomes scramble where he has to go to the blue tent, and then Minshew has to try to sub in and take over. Minshew's only an inch shorter than Mahomes as well too. Pause. Same weight, chat. Hey, yo, what? But that's crazy. I guess Mahomes does feel like I would have thought maybe like a 6'5", got a little more, maybe 6'3", I don't know. But yeah, shout out. It is what it is. Okay, chat. Anyways, the Thursday night game. Have we rambled about that enough? I think we have made. Did we make our point clear? I think so. Whoa, Indiana 66. Hey, yo, Indiana, put another point up there. Jeez. To 0 against Sycamores, chat. Whoa, Indiana State. Larry Legend. Is he in the luxury box? Does Indiana State have one luxury box? It's for Larry Bird. I don't know. But, whoa, Keegan Patterson, the backup quarterback. I don't know. Iowa transfer, 8 for 16 for 13 yards. Brock Riddell, 3 for 4 for 25 yards. So either of these guys have been in the Iowa quarterback room, or they're going to be there soon, chat, because that's pretty Iowa quarterback stat line. Indiana State as well. I mean, they're playing Indiana's, another Big Ten. Indiana, Big Ten school, of course, Iowa opponent. So, but Indiana also just geographically close to Iowa. Point being, they're watching, chat. They got scouts at the Sycamores games being like, who's replacing Gronowski next? But do the Hoosiers have two, like a brother quarterback room? Whoa, chat, this might be the best quarterback room actually, and they have, the sequential numbers. I don't know, is Alberto, this feels like Fernando's the younger, Alberto's the older. I don't know, A being the older. I don't know, and not that A, of course, not that older starts with A, but that would be the, the first letter in the alphabet. Let's see, Alberto, Mendoza. Chat, the new Mendoza twins. Hey, yo, the new Mendoza brothers. Am I crazy? I guess, I don't watch all the Netflix new true crime docs, but it's the Mendoza. If I say Mendoza twins, is that what pops up? Okay, yeah. I guess I don't, spellings, I don't know, chat. But yeah. Oh, Menendez. That's what it is. Okay, I knew it was close enough, chat. I knew it was almost there. I didn't think Mendoza was quite right. But hey, yo, chat, the Mendoza twins. I don't know if that's the new nickname for them. Are they related? We'll have to see. I guess I'm assuming, but I've seen, of course, Fernando. Did I get the name there? Fernando was on some draft boards. Yeah, Tankathon guy has him listed. So, and I guess after this day, I don't know, will he be moving up? 5 touchdowns against Indiana State. But he is redshirt freshman. So yeah, he would not be draft eligible, but it's looking good against Indiana State, chat. Hey, yo, so this is like the Manning brothers and the Menendez brothers and the Mendoza brothers. Hey, yo, it's a trilogy of Twins. I don't know if that works, but 19 for 20 for 270, and then 6 for 9 for 104. Ayo. But I guess 1 for 1 for 5 from Grant Wilson. Is that like a receiver throwing a pass or a running back, or maybe I don't know, the third stringers in at this point. But between the two of them, I mean, we got 25 for 29 for 374 and 7 touchdowns. I mean, that's all-time level stuff. But that could be fun. The Mannings have to be. No, I guess they don't have to be the only brothers drafted in the first round because, I mean, they're probably obviously they're the best brothers drafted in the first round. They're the best football quarterback brothers to ever play, obviously. But I'm sure were the McCown's first round draft picks, chat? I don't even know the other quarterback brothers at this point. Let's see, Josh McCown, 2002. He might have been third round pick. So was Luke. First round pick. I don't know if Luke McCown would have been a first round pick if Josh McCown wasn't. Fourth round pick. Yeah, I don't know if just based on the NFL careers we would have guessed that Josh McCown was the better. Where'd he go? Yeah, Sam Houston State, and then Luke went to Louisiana Tech. Okay. So they didn't go to overlapping schools there. And I guess I can't those are the two quarterback brothers that stand out, chat. The Manning brothers and the McCown brothers. Is there another set outside of the Menendez brothers that have played quarterback? I don't know. Speaking of calling plays, chat, the Menendez brothers. Speaking of drawing stuff up. Hey, yo. The Menendez brothers, it is what it is. I don't know if that's what they expect to be compared to, chat. But, some rushing stats on here as well. Hey, yo. Shout out. But they are crushing tonight, chat. You could say they're going psycho. Oh, I don't know. But is that what's up next, chat? Psycho? Did we do the math, chat? 45, 65 years? I think we tried to do the math last time. This movie is such a classic, we had to turn it into a two-part, live all week, chat. It's Alfred Hitchcock week on the REMINGTOM pod. Hey, yo, who'd have thought? 72-0, Indiana. Whoa, did Menendez get another touchdown? Oh, it might have been a rushing touchdown. At this point, they don't even need to pass anymore. Kobe Martin? KHOBI? Shout out, chat. That's the one I was going to use. But 11 for 109 and 2 touchdowns for the running back for Indiana. The lead carrier for Indiana State, 1 for 13. So this is tough, chat. And Indiana State is 2-0 as well. So I don't know. We're not calling them out on purpose here. But do we have like team overall? Yeah, here we go. Team stats. Do they have 100 yards? Jenny is not looking there. 55. Whoa. 55 to 680. Outgained. That's got to be up there for the largest, the largest, gap in college football history in terms of yardage gained. I don't know, the most outgained. Fewest yards, chat. Most outgained. Those feel like they could be two separate things. Because I feel like fewest yards in a game might be a single bad game all the way around. Single yards in a, somebody's video game stats are going to come up here. Single yards in an NCAA. We can't spell AO. Speaking of embarrassing, our spelling skills in an I almost put an NCAA football game here. NCAA. Oh, yeah, that's what we want. Not the video game, though. Fewest yards in an NCAA video on-screen live game. Shout out. 15.3. Fewest rush yards allowed per game. Oh, that's pretty crazy. 15 rush yards per game. So that, if their defense is that good, could they be giving up about, 40, 30 pass yards a game? That seems like it'd be pretty crazy. The craziest game in college football history, 77 punts. Yeah, see, chat, this is the type of game I'm talking about. 0 points, 77 punts. It's like negative 4 yards gained to 6 yards gained. Just a terrible game. Oh, rain. Okay, that would make sense. Weather, crazy muddy. Got the ball on the 13-yard line on the very next play. Gentleman said no thank you and punted the ball right back to Texas Tech. The Red Raiders ran 2 plays for 3 yards, and then you guessed it, punted the ball back. Whoa, chat. They weren't messing around in 1930. They weren't messing around in 1939 for sure. But, they were just like, this possession's not working out. We're just going to punt. It's 2nd and 3. We're not moving the, second and whatever. We're not moving the ball. Give it back. Trust the defense. Let's switch field position. 1st and 10 to Texas Tech. 1st and 10 to go from its 30. Calhoun punts to Bynum to the century. 25. Hey, yo, chat. That is crazy. A fullback, 77 punts, 42 returned, 19 out of bounds. 1 was fair. 4 were blocked. Oh, that's an action-packed game. Most punts. So 36 for Charlie Calhoun for Texas Tech. Just individual punts in the game is crazy. You would have to be punting early as well, too. You wouldn't have, 77 different fourth down scenarios in a game would be kind of crazy as well, too. Because you just think on a drive, you don't necessarily get to you don't get to fourth down on every set of downs, obviously, then have to go, have to not punt to keep the drive alive. You can get ball, you can just get first downs every time or 2 first downs in big plays and just, score that way or whatever. But, hey, yo, chat, we'll get to this movie at some point. Psycho, chat, all these years later, 1960, it still holds up, I guess. We'll see on Peacock. We'll rewatch it and make sure. It is a rewatch, I guess. Like, we have seen this one before. I don't know if it's it is, I gotta say, it's a classic for sure. Is it always the first go-to on the queue up? Maybe not. No disrespect to Mr. Alfred, chat. Hey, yo. But, we'll still, again, we'll still honor its legacy as well, too. It's still, again, it's obviously great to watch. So it's going to be fun to remember this classic in 2025 on the anniversary week, because I guess the anniversary day was earlier this week. But like we were saying, anything, of course, any other pre-planned stuff would have been okay to set to the side for our guy Sam Collin. And make no mistake, a 1960s Psycho rewatch, chat is, I think, first draft pick for, it's okay, Sam Collin, that's fine. But after the break, chat, it's no Sam Collin this week. It's Psycho, or I guess this time it's just Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Janet Leigh up next, chat, the legend. 1960 after the break. All right, chat, it's time. Oh, 1966 Psycho from Alfred Hitchcock, streaming live on Peacock right now. Hey, yo, chat, it's a big pause machine, hey, yo, through the labels on this movie. And speaking of our guy, J.J. McCarthy, they're getting us hyped up with the McCarthy Penix tape, highlight hype tapes going into the next game here on Peacock. But yeah, shout out, chat. Of course, again, one of the iconic movies. One of the iconic, of course, just original movies as well too. I guess obviously, when movies actually started. Wait a second, is this a second quarterback for Colorado? Did they go with Did they? Oh wait, is this okay, well, that might be Colorado defender. I think Houston has the ball. Never mind. I was like, well, we're just expecting a QB change at some point, yeah, but stop playing well, so we gotta let him be at this point. But again, I feel like for some genres of movies, it's kind of hard to, and maybe not always, but it is a little like the genres of movies can be a little like in the NFL, maybe more specifically than the NBA, because the NBA, I think we used to obsess more over the individual, of course, position rankings, like who are the best point guards of all time, shooting guards, centers, etc. But now, with of course, gravitation to the on the court stuff being a little bit more versatile, I feel like just the conversation in the game as well too has trended that way, and it's more about sort of like everybody, of course, against each other, the all-time player ranking. Where do you stack up? And we still, First Take is still going to have its point guard rankings, Steph Curry versus Magic. Again, it's not like these things are gone. But for the NFL specifically, again, it's still very much defined by the, we were kind of talking about earlier as well, too, the individual impact spots on the field. And there are some that do have a guy that is, and maybe this is more of a GOAT conversation as well too, but I guess to kind of compare the sort of not anonymous, but the unanimousness of a point, like the NFL spots would have certain spots where it's like the defensive ends, like Lawrence Taylor would be the best defensive end of all time, Deion Sanders would be the best defensive back of all time, Jerry Rice quarterback. We're getting to a spot where maybe a lot of the spots do have a kind of a defined GOAT as time continues to go on as well too. But a lot of movies, okay, the original rom-com, like this one is definitely like, okay, did this start this? But also they were, doing this version of it in the 40s as well too. But then in the 90s, it's like now we're like, is it a blockbuster in a different way? Action movies kind of have that same sort of timeline where it's just sort of almost just the constant progression of the graphics and what is being used in the storytelling elements. But for a movie like a thriller like this, the sort of basic elements of the thriller are going to just rely on a little bit more, I guess I don't want to say timeless aspects because that feels a little bit too simple, but it's just going to be a little bit more simple, the things that these type of things rely on, like this. Oh, chat, are we good to go? We have got some technical difficulties. We'll see if we are able to reconnect, chat. Okay, we're back. Testing 1, 2, 3. I think we're good to go. Okay, we disconnected there. I was like, hopefully we don't lose the live stream. But we're gonna, chat, we got a first jump scare of the live stream. Hey, yo, from the grave. It's Alfred Hitchcock messing with us, chat. Hey, yo, pause. But again, I'm like the sort of tension and chat, it's happening again. What's going on with the Wi-Fi, chat? Hey, yo. I think I see. I never know. Is this part of it that I think just gets like cut out automatically? But if not, it is what it is. So I guess we just got to keep watching, chat. Shout out, of course, to Janet Leigh, the icon. But like we said, just the fact that it's just sort of relying on tension and the anticipation of what's going to happen and the scariness of a villain. These are things that are just constantly all throughout the course of these movies. And again, like car chases can be, and obviously again, like a villain can be different based on what's available, but technology and vehicles available and AI and what are capables of, like those are going to change what the basic storytelling premises of those type of movies are and how those movies feel. But a good thriller kind of scary movie is gonna always be the same. Again, even if it's a little bit more realistic or eccentric based on graphics in modern time. And you can get to a point where a movie is, of course, a little less scary because it's obviously not as realistic. But it's not like it's not like this movie is never less tense. Or, Halloween is a great example of that as well, too, which, again, is a little bit more starting to get into modern horror type stuff. I don't know if this movie necessarily classifies as a horror movie in the same type of way. I don't necessarily know if I'm even the best at kind of, putting labels on all those different type of genres as well too. But it just, horror, it doesn't quite have it does of course have the stuff, but it doesn't have the same type of, I guess, maybe the supernatural element that some of the horror stuff does as well too. But again, like, you're still, the pacing of a villain in this one, in the twists, in the turns, are still going to be good regardless of what the technology is of the time as well. And of course, Janet Leigh is of course a legend that is known from this movie. It is a little difficult sometimes to know like who are the legendary people out of this movie. I mean, a sort of movie that lives on like this, like the people again can be legendary based on, of course, it's not. He obviously has the diverse catalog, and he's worked with Hitchcock as well too. But of course, Hitchcock is the guy that is the main legend from this movie, and you get all of the beats of the Hitchcock movie. You get all of those, of course, iconic elements that he is known for in his type of filmmaking. But I think this movie is definitely a little bit underrated. People don't talk about the writing in Psycho as well too. And I don't know if it's just the overall pacing. Oh, chat, what are we searching up? Whoa, chat, we're trying to search on Wikipedia. We're accidentally on the dark web. Hey, yo, it is what it is, chat. Hey, yo, this is getting crazy. Let's see if we can just pivot back to Wikipedia. Hey, yo, I don't even remember what we were going to search up. Psycho? Okay, we'll just go back to there and see if, we could get back on track. But, yeah, the writer, screenplay written by Joseph Stefano. So, chat, I don't know if we have to go into the Joseph Stefano backstory and remember what's going on. Again, you just never know as well. But it is a pretty fun and pretty, just the pacing of dialogue in old movies is just really fun. And there is a sort of surreal element to the way that they are written. Again, I wasn't there in the 60s when this movie came out, or I guess, end of the 50s, beginning of the 60s, so I don't know how people actually talked in real life, if this necessarily reflects that. And of course, you can get into artsy films now where, people are just not talking like, there's a little bit of a difference between how people would talk in maybe a certain type of film and the way that people would talk in real life. But there is just a sort of pacing and a sort of lack of it's okay if like the expressions are very obvious on their face, and it's like the person is next to them, but it's okay if what the person is saying is almost just for the audience and not in the people in the room, and still like maybe a little bit more wearing their emotions on the face. And maybe it's just like, okay, some of the, again, it's still all great acting as well too, but maybe just some of the ways that it was back in the time is a little bit different. But there was, again, the speed at which the movies, some of the, not necessarily the overall movies, because it's like, okay, we're a lot of old movies slow as well too, is always a thing that people say. But the actual, again, the way the lines just go back and forth, or people are just ripping off dialogue. Like in the first scene, of course, between her and, what's the name of the boyfriend? I want to say his name's Sam. Yeah, Anthony is the guy, the actor. But I want to say, oh yeah, Sam Loomis, shout out, chat. Hey, yo, so I think, of course, speaking of Halloween, I would assume that Dr. Loomis is named after Sam Loomis from this movie. And speaking of Dr. Loomis, chat, hey, yo, I gotta say, we mentioned Halloween. I did watch a couple of the Halloween movies, Tubi, and, shout out that we mentioned them for YouTube. They have been having them on there. There's like H2O has been on there the 20 is it 20 the first of the new Halloweens, the newest one that's called just Halloween, but of course I guess not the OG one. But we were again watching that OG one as well too, and we were just Donald Pleasance, chat. Hey, yo, Dr. Loomis, he's just one of the goats, chat. It is what it is. Donald Pleasance is a legend. And I was like, well, we have to go back and just watch some of these other Donald Pleasance movies. And there's, I guess, what do you guys know about Columbo out there? Since we're talking about old stuff, we're just going to pivot to Columbo like it's a natural thing that you guys would obviously reference. But I feel like people still know the name and get the detective sort of tropes that he had for the show. I feel like people still kind of know that character, but I could be wrong, Chet. Hey, yo. Well, maybe we'll have to take a poll. DM us at RemingTonm. Do you guys know who Columbo is? Shout out. But there is an episode with Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis from Halloween. He's in an episode as, I guess not necessarily a spoiler alert, because again, the murderers in the episodes, but he's in, and I guess that's the point. You get the guest stars in there as the murderers, and then Columbo, Peter Falk, solves the mysteries. And there's a great, it's my favorite, and it might be just the best one in general as well too. But he's awesome in it though. Speaking of, old writing, chat, there's I was watching it. I haven't seen that episode in years, and I watched it again. I was like, there's some wild lines in this, but Donald Pleasance is just, going 100. He's just throwing 110 each time. And again, it's not a spoiler. It's like the murder happens in the first 5 minutes. So, it's more about how he catches him. But so I guess if you guys are going to watch the episode, I don't mean to spoil it for you, but, yeah, the character that Donald Pleasance is playing. Maybe Donald Pleasance, who knows how much of a character, but he's a wine connoisseur. So I don't know if he picked this role for a reason, but he kills his brother in the episode in a fit of rage. So he's trying to build up to that moment and show that he gets worked up and gets mad. And then of course throughout the episode, there's a couple of times where I guess he kind of has a mad moment and outburst as well too, to prove that that's possible, but then to also prove something else that Columbo's trying to prove on him as well. But the Pleasance is just incredible in that episode, and it's great. And there's some other episodes that that show is in rotation. That's a classic. That's like a grandparents classic, chat. I don't know if y'all what the TV influence from the grandparents is out there, for those that are lucky enough to have that kind of influence in their life. But make no mistake, chat. If I guess I can't speak for everybody, but you got some white grandparents, maybe Columbo's gonna be in the mix, chat. I don't know. I'm just speaking from my experience. That's all I'm saying. Some Italian grandparents, I guess, is really what it is, because I guess Columbo's Italian. There's definitely some heavy Italian in the grandparents for sure. So I don't know if that's in the episode as well too. That's a wine episode. That's part of it. He's like, Columbo's like, us Italians, we stick together. So maybe they're watching the show because of that. But yeah. But again, we were watching it for Donald Pleasance. So shout out to Sam Loomis and Psycho. Donald Pleasance did not play Sam Loomis, but he did play. I guess maybe Sam Loomis is his first name as well too. I guess is Doctor his first name? I don't know if he has. Make no mistake, chat. With the way he's bumbling around in that movie, I don't know if he has a doctorate or if his first name is just his parents named him Dr. Loomis, and then that's actually his first name. His first name is not Sam. His first name is his name's actually Doctor. It's like, who's that? Is Major Applewhite a quarterback or was he a coach? I forget. There was a Major Applewhite was one of the son or father. Then there was one of them was the coach and one of them was the quarterback, and one of them was Major Applewhite. I don't know, but I guess shout out. We got, of course, Janet Leigh embezzles the money, takes off on the run. You get a good interaction with the cop as well too. Hey, well, in terms of the intensity as well, but you kind of have the shot where she looks up and he's just staring in the window is pretty fun. And again, he kind of definitely seems that it's like, okay, definitely something wrong here, but I don't know exactly how much I have to make a stop. And make no mistake, he is cops in these movies, they're not always making stops. If they got an excuse to let you go, chat, they'll let you go. It is what it is. Especially Janet Leigh as well. I forget if he goes the other way and, he's like, okay, Janet Leigh, do we need to try to drive you into town as well? But pulling over to just go to sleep in the car, chat, on the run is, of course, a desperate move. I feel like a move that you don't really, nobody's just went to sleep in their car. You don't really have the person on the run going to sleep scene though in the movies these days. The person's just on the run and then getting chased, and it's kind of just the drama of that as well. But of course, speaking of Halloween as well, I'm pretty sure that, this is just Rem learns Hollywood history here. Pretty sure Janet Leigh, Jamie Lee Curtis, chat. Am I crazy? Yeah, so Tony Curtis, Janet Leigh, chat. I mean, I don't need to say it, but obviously, well, I guess, Jamie Lee Curtis is the proof. That's a power couple, chat. Hey, yo. And then, of course, we know the storylines, I guess, based on that. For us to say, yeah, there was like some, the Nepo baby stuff, obviously, with the original Halloween movie. But I don't think we can be mad. At this point, it's really worked out. So is there, if, Jamie Lee Curtis worked out, chat? Hey, yo. Bronny, Shador, was Halloween Jamie Lee Curtis's first movie? Like, did it take a couple of seasons, the first couple of runs to figure out where to go? And the driving scenes, chat, in this as well, too. Like, did driving technology, again, this is 1960s, so it's basically 50s technology at this point in this movie. I guess, being released in the 50s, or it's being made, or being released in the 60s, it's being made in the 50s as well, too, technically. But, oh, chat, and the theme song kicking in while she's driving as well. Of course, shout out to Busta Rhymes, who had that flipped onto a sample, and every time it just hits that one part, I just always think of that song as well. So I'm going to be playing that song right after this as well, too. I just get it stuck in my head right after pause. It's just, of course, shout out to the great, producers out there. It's just the perfect cut where, just the repeatability that it just immediately, it just loops in my mind. Like, it's crazy. But, shout out, of course, Busta Rhymes is a legend, chat. He's one of those ones every year. I always, the Spotify, I'm like, oh, Busta Rhymes, maybe a couple more songs up there than you would expect. Hopefully the microphone picks it up in the background. I feel like we could almost, well, it would have the rest of the theme song. I wonder if we went back and, like, had the Shazam and we kept skipping backwards and looping it. I wonder if it would figure if it was the Busta Rhymes song. Or the Busta Rhymes song. Or not. But, yeah, shout out, of course, to that part right there. I don't remember exactly how many times that gets, like, brought up in the movie, but that is, I think, the main theme for the movie as well. So I don't know how many, I guess I don't know exactly off the top how many other songs cut that into a sample as well, but that's the part that definitely sticks out as well. And she is pretty good at going on, like she's pretty good at getting away, chat. Again, it's a little bit easier in 1950s as well, but the cop following her around, chat. I forgot that he doesn't just leave her on the side of the road there, but he doesn't then chase her into the hotel. Is that just, classic? Well, I guess clarify what we're saying there, but kind of classic Hitchcock leaving. I guess we could just say classic Hitchcock, right? It could be anything. I don't know, but feels like it could be just like the cop leaving at the wrong moment. Feels like it could be classic Hitchcock. But that also, when we watch The Exorcist 3, not necessarily our guy AH. We're just gonna start calling him AH because I don't want to stay. Whoa, IT, we might have to edit that out. Hey, yo, we're just talking about the director, Alfred Hitchcock. Do we have another name for this guy, chat? I don't know. Just Alfred, Fred. We call him. Maybe we just start calling him Hitch, chat. I get that. That is, of course, the great movie. And when we refer to Hitch, we definitely want to be referring to the movie. Shout out Eva Mendes, but and also I guess Will Smith is shout out 2025 tough. But do we call him Hitch now? I guess he's Hitch from now on, chat. It is what it is. IT might have to edit out there some tough initials for the legendary director. It is what even that once you start saying some of that stuff gets a little dicey as well too. But yeah, of course, like we're saying, she is at least being sneaky, getting the car switched out, and trying to at least disguise her moves in that type of way. So I don't know what, and since she did embezzle the cash as well too, I don't necessarily know what kind of paper trails she leaves, but maybe washing the money is good as well. If you can sell the car, or if you can, yeah, I guess that would be the end goal. But you buy the car with the cash that you stole, and then sell the car. Janet Leigh, like, she can kind of clean the money a little bit. And what's her name in this as well too? Marion Crane. So that's a great, of course, villain name. I feel like that is something that is a name that maybe is not. Let me see here. What does it say? I'm trying to think of all like the other Marion Crane homages that we may have gotten throughout. Would it say here? I guess it doesn't necessarily have like a title, but that is a good name to just like. I don't know if you necessarily can. Maybe it's too good to just bring back, the full name and just completely rip it off. But I don't know. I just feel like maybe Crane as the last name is kind of fun. But yeah, shout out, of course, iconic character. And obviously, can't say too. I guess have we already spoiled the movie, chat? I don't know if the plot twist stuff is in here. I mean, I feel like there's no plot twist at this point for a movie in 1960. I don't know if there is a movie that has a major spoiler that's kind of out there that people wouldn't know about at this point. Like, even somebody that didn't see, like, I feel like all those major spoiler type movies, I knew the spoiler before I watched them. I don't know if there's been one. I'm trying to think what the most major sort of twist ending movie that I would have seen is that would have come out in, like, since we've been going to movies and stuff in a real way to remember those types of experiences. But again, all the classic ones with like Usual Suspects and that's I think the iconic. I guess like Pulp Fiction. As I'm trying to, I guess like Sixth Sense. I'm trying to remember because again, all these are kind of spoiled as well too. So I don't even know what like considers like a plot twist or more so just like are we just like okay, what movies are the most complicated narratives of all time? That's also part of it. But this one as well too is. I feel like one that most people just like at this point just kind of like grow up knowing what happens in this movie. And again, like her like the pace, the kind of stock and pace of the movie is something that has been paid homage to as well. And I guess the cop kind of stalking her in a way, I don't know if that is like some foreshadowing, but again, it is like we keep saying chased, but I guess again on the rewatch, like like it is a little bit more of that type of thing, like that it's slow grind kind of in the background. It is a little bit of a Michael Myers presence from this guy here in the way he is moving to follow her and not even being subtle, just sneaking like right up into the parking lot, just walking up, being like, hey, this looks a little bit sketchy. What's going on? So again, obviously, like they're saying now, there is a pace, a chase that is happening, but it is a little bit more different than that. Oh, have we pivoted into Texas high school football after Colorado, Houston? Hey, yo. Shout out South Lake Carroll over Byron Nelson, 38-3 at half. Hey, yo, Chad. Houston Legacy over... I can't say a Fresneti Catholic, 55-0. Whoa, some dominant performances in the Friday Night Lights. Shout out. Oh, that was just a scoreboard update. Okay, I guess because it's a Houston game, they had to give us a scoreboard update. 19-14, anyways, is the scoreboard update for that one. Dion, go to 2-1. We'll be, and then same record as Houston. Hey yo, I know that is that the goal for the season, but I feel like obviously that'd be good for what the records are right now, with them being 2-0 and you being 1-1. But again, I guess, she's, of course, about to run into the hotel and the whole situation over there as well, too. But even though maybe the characters in the background change a little bit, there is always that kind of constant being followed tension in this movie as well. So maybe, and that is one of the things that I think this movie is, again, it's not a long runtime. I think they make this movie now, and with the twists and the turns of this movie, it's definitely over 2 hours. I don't know if they let him go like 2:27 with it. It'd have to be a good director for sure. And maybe Alfred Hitchcock, 2025. Nolan making this movie now, they definitely let him do it. I don't know if Nolan, plot twist wise, is the modern day Alfred Hitchcock. I think there is, they're telling they're making different types of movies, but they are kind of plot twisty in the same type of way. Oh, chat. And do we have to go back to the drive scene here? Janet Leigh did have there was like a little evil look there that she did give when she was kind of recounting some of the events in her head as she's driving along. The rain, is now becoming a factor. I love that. It's like, the crazy downpour, the 2-lane highway. This is like I guess, how new were roads in 1960, chat? Hey, yo. This is like, that's even some timeless horror type, real life horror type stuff right there. The 2-lane highway with the crazy downpour rain. You can barely see. You got all the oncoming traffic. The semi it's like all of a sudden those headlights just barreling down on you. It is what it is. But of course that is, I think, what is gonna help contribute to the next move. And again, chat, like, it's timeless stuff. And I don't know if this type of stuff even necessarily needs like big screen effects. Maybe there is some widescreen stuff and some details that, of course, can be emerged and just enhanced, and all the stuff can kind of, again, be accentuated. But the rain into the windshield wipers, and then when she pulls into the hotel, those windshield wipers, wiping away the rain, slowly revealing like the Bates Hotel logo and the sign, is just great stuff. And it's obviously just the classic sort of dark, rainy environment, kind of giving you a little bit of an atmosphere. Immediately nobody around off the highway, scary house. Again, this is all the classic stuff, chat. And I don't know. And again, like we were going back earlier as well, too, and saying, I don't know if this, and that's just, as well, too. I'm not necessarily the horror movie guy or the thriller slasher, whatever, in the same type of way. Maybe I would just have watched a bunch of the other different types of other genres. But in terms of all these beats being kind of put together in a real way in one movie, I'm trying to think of what it would have been. Because there would have been scary movies. Like, Nosferatu was obviously in the 70s, but there was a 22. Like, they made Nosferatu in 22. So they were still, cooking up some stuff. But that's a little bit of a different lane in this type of movie, even though, again, we're maybe at some point in a broader subgenre of, whatever. But this is, again, of course, playing all these out. And maybe, in the Hitchcock, the Hitch filmography of it, like, I guess I don't know exactly what movie this was in order that he made here. We'll see. When did he start making films? Filmography. 13, 22? He made silent films? Hey, yo. That's crazy, chat. The OG Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Whoa. I didn't even realize that, chat. That's crazy. Again, this guy was prolific. So Psycho is like at the end of his run, almost. I guess I don't know if this is selected or not. Sound filmography? Let's see here. Let's just go into the entire thing if we could just see if... Hey, pause. Let's see if we... Notorious? Is this the Biggie biopic? 1946? No. Cary Grant? Ingrid Bergman? Seems like a different... 3 lives who immediately become entangled during an espionage operation. Oh, chat. You just have to watch all the movies. The premises are great. Again, even if they can get a little complex at this time. But, again, this does have a lot of sort of... Not a lot, but there is a couple of shifting beats throughout this movie. You kind of go embezzlement to hotel situations, and then maybe a couple of post situations after that. But I guess, again, maybe noticing stuff on the rewatches as well too, just sort of the cleanness of of course, obviously the overall vibe, but like we're saying, the way it feels like that constant stock is always happening is a great feeling that it is carried throughout the movie. And again, speaking of legends, like obviously as he just introduces himself to Marion Crane, Norman Bates is a legendary character. I guess we can look at Anthony Perkins. Is that his name? I'm cheating, Chad. Of course, I saw it earlier as well too. It helps remember. Yeah, they have right here. Anthony Perkins, star of the film. I don't know exactly what the rest of his filmography looks like here. Golden Globe for Best New Actor. Friendly Persuasion, 56. So this would have been leading to this film. He signed a 7-year semi-exclusive contract with Paramount, where he was regarded as the studio's last matinee idol. In 1957, he appeared in Fear Strikes Out, a memoir. Fear Strikes Out, the Jimmy Pearsall story. So is this baseball? I was gonna say, I don't know. Shout out to anybody that knows the story of Jimmy Pearsall out there. He was cast as the romantic lead opposite Jane Fonda in her film debut, Tall Story, same year. Whoa, chat. Do we got to look at Anthony Perkins' 1960 as one of the great years? Shout out. You go Norman Bates, co-star in a movie with Jane Fonda in the same year? That's a pretty strong... Based on the 1957 novel, The Homecoming Game, the Howard base, which was the basis of a successful 1959? So I still don't really know what that means. Here's everything and everybody that made Broadway blush at the Howling Stage Smash. Okay, so maybe a little musical vibe as well too. But yeah, he is a guy that you wouldn't say has a bunch of other movies that have, I guess, had the same sort of legendary stuff. Murder on the Orient Express as well. I guess I don't know necessarily what role, what number of the cast he is on that. Les Miserables, a TV movie. They've done a lot of versions, so I don't know which one is which. Psycho 2, Psycho 3, Psycho 4, TV movie. Whoa, 1990. Chat, I might just have to go on a run as well too and just watch the Psycho the Legacy, archive footage, independent direct-to-video documentary is crazy. Magician, The Astonishing Life of Orson Welles. Just a documentary about Orson Welles, and then more Psycho stuff as well too. So there's a couple other roles in there as well. This is, of course, there'd be few other just more iconic roles in general than anything that has been done here. It is funny to think about him being a romantic lead too in the other movie in 1960. He's a romantic lead, and Janet Leigh and Jane Fonda as co-stars. Chat, not a bad 1960 as well too. Who did Pedro Pascal star next to this year? Dakota Johnson and Vanessa Kirby. Chat. We were not to forget about Vanessa Kirby, but I don't know. Slide in the DMs, chat. We'll get you the unofficial voting results next live stream. Janet Leigh and Jane Fonda, or as co-stars, chat. You're building a movie. That's obviously what we're talking about. Is acting. Which cast would you rather build around? Starting star Janet Leigh and Jane Fonda, or Dakota Johnson and Vanessa Kirby? I don't know. It could be any type of movie you want, but what cast are you taking in this situation? But yeah, shout out, of course, to Anthony Perkins as well for a legendary performance. And it is, I don't know. I don't know if I've seen enough of these movies to talk about the uniqueness of his performance in the scope. There's definitely a skill to it. It's definitely one of the great performances in the scope. It's just a great performance. So you don't really need to see a lot of other ones to just know that this is, just a great character in a movie, and he just does a really good job of making this guy very interesting. But the sort of just enough off of the something is, there's a vibe that he has here that it feels like he could just be unhinged at any moment, but maybe he's just also like, also maybe it's just like an unhinged like emotion in a good way in some type of way. Like, I don't know. Again, there's like a weird kind of balance almost. It once, of course, you kind of know what is up with him as well too, then the terror is definitely there of kind of again waiting for him to turn, I guess, psycho. Hey yo, spoiler alert. But the idea of this is a guy that you encounter and how are you interacting with him, how close are you just like in a normal kind of stranger just friendly conversation type of way, like how much are you of course going to again, like I'm not saying like okay there's like chemistry here between Norman Bates and Janet Leigh. I mean again they're probably there's movies as well too where maybe is that a version of it? I guess is this Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone? Hey yo, I don't know if that's the type of vibe we're getting here. Obviously Michael Douglas so charming that he couldn't be killed in that one, but again it's like just enough unsuspecting if you first meet him that you can't necessarily like be like you can't like make a claim or attack. You can't do anything. Like it's just a normal guy who is like, wait a second, he's just like out here alone running a hotel and he seems just like kind of like a a loner type dude. But of course there is a whole other side. And again, speaking of sort of people going back and forth with dialogue, I think there is a great pace to the scene with him kind of the slower, more thoughtful, paced out responses. And again, she can kind of there's a speed at which she can as we're not getting spicy here. We're just saying that the vibe with her and Sam earlier on was obviously a little bit more rapid fire, but the way that this kind of leads the anticipation, the way this kind of works up the anticipation of the scene as well too is great. And just the leaning back, the leaning in shot, he's like got the like the taxidermy situation. So I mean maybe the taxidermy just in general, it depends, because I guess not all taxidermy is obviously, I don't we're gonna obviously start getting in trouble with people that we know here, but taxidermy's cool, chat. We love taxidermy, but maybe just like giant taxidermies, lots, maybe being like overly descriptive of the what happens as well too, or like overly passionate is a little concerning as well. But yeah, some of the, of course, I mean the house is of course just iconic. Just there is something wrong with this house, we need to go type house. I don't even know if it is anything but a haunted house, horror house. But the hotel is, I guess, a separate business, so you got to stay there for the night. It is what it is. And is it because of the cop as well too that she won't pull off on the road again? Because I guess she established that she won't. She'll just keep it pushing. Like she's a hustler. She's trying to get away. Like she doesn't necessarily. I guess did she's like I can go back and was there like I need to find a room for the night type thing. But the if she's got that extra chase as well too from the fuzz, like maybe she needs to actually just play it normal, get a room, be just like a typical traveler, and not necessarily draw any extra attention. And then again, this officer's like, oh yeah, the Bates Hotel. That's obviously where I see people go to the Bates Hotel all the time. So nothing suspicious happens there. I mean, he talks, and it is off the highway, so maybe I don't know. There's a chance that maybe it's not on the route, and it's just like the people aren't swinging by it every now and then. But you would think that you're like, okay, wait, I've never ever seen a car in the parking lot, and now there's a car. Like, are you thinking, oh, good for him, or like just like, oh, do we need to like see what's happening? Like, do I need to have to start paying attention to businesses, chat? I gotta be honest, there's a couple of businesses. I guess there's a couple of businesses I've seen people walking in and out of, but no cars parked in front. So maybe if there was a car, like, wait a second, we need to check and see if there's like we got like a split, like what's going on with the proprietor of this store. But I feel like most every spot that I can think of that I would like see a lot, obviously, would have at some point have had a car parked out in front of it. Maybe Norman Bates and like his psycho behavior keeps the car rotation, up front up. Or maybe again, this is not the first time this has happened as well too. So that what it would be. It's part of the story. I guess he's probably not a trustworthy guy, Chad. Hey, it's all a lie. Wait a second. People do go there. I guess I'm sure the highway redirected is definitely takes away some business. But that does beg the question, Chad. Hey, what did Bates Hotel look like when it was popping? I guess, it is the, of course, as we, the whole backstory and the relationship between him and his mom. Like, there is, and I guess we could get into the details of what exactly happened. I guess we kind of do know what happened to her. I don't remember exactly in the timeline of his life when the crazy events went down as well. But I think that, again, maybe she was just more in charge of the hotel at that point. So they were just running a normal hotel and he was more normal, and that was before everything kind of flipped. But that would be, and I guess there are television shows like Bates Hotel and stuff, I guess, is about the hotel. But what was it just always a purely creepy hotel? Or was it just like, hey, Bates Hotel is like, 3.7 is kind of a low, honestly. If you're like a 3.7 Google place, I guess you could still be pretty good. But, if there's like a Burger King that's like a 3.7, you're not necessarily going to get drawn. You're not even going to look at that. You're not even going to notice. It's just going to be, it is what it is. Maybe it's just, it's a little place. Maybe hotels, it does matter. I don't know. But it would be a little place specific. But yeah, the good business of Bates Hotel would be interesting to see what the clientele numbers would have been for that back in the day. There is a couple rooms. I guess do we go back to like the key on the wall situation? I don't know. I feel like a lot of hotels and movies, there's not like the same sort of high-rise hotel situation that we have nowadays. I guess high-rise hotel, but even just a hotel like by airports and stuff will still be like 8. You'll still get like 8-9 floors in just a normal hotel. So there's just gonna obviously be a scale there for the amount of keys. Back in the day, you're gonna get what, 1, maybe 2 floors. I'm trying to think. Probably mostly one. A lot of 1-floor motels back in the day. So 13, 14 rooms, just a couple of keys. Not necessarily a lot of upkeep. But if you got full rooms and people hopping around, I guess you don't necessarily have the same, again, amenities, no pool. Bates Hotel. Dude, Bates Hotel in 2025, the haunted pool and the haunted gym, chat. Hey, Bates Hotel. It's like the dumbbells only go up to the 50 and the 45s in the Bates Hotel. They're missing a 35 dumbbell at the Bates Hotel, chat. Hey, cable machine's broke. This is disastrous. It's like the bench is an incline bench, but the incline won't hold. It's like you go to do shoulder press, you just totally fall back. That's probably how the first kill happens at Bates Hotel, chat. Bad shoulder press bench. You got missing a 25 dumbbell, so the guy's got to go heavy. He's like 35, 45s on the shoulder. I guess, it's not necessarily it's a guy that Norman Bates can take. It's just this Chet on the shoulder press, Chet. Hey, I guess we're thinking hotel dumbbells. That's like 85. That's like most of the hotel weight. So comparative for a gym weight, that's like the 85-pound dumbbells, but in a hotel, it's the 25, 35-pound dumbbells, but just a lot of reps. I don't know. But we get the, Norman Bates hanging out with his taxidermy birds, chat. Hey, plotting what's next. Our guy Hitch with the lighting. Somehow you get like a light cast on his face, kind of dark, but the eyes pop up. Oh, Chad, I forgot about the painting situation on the wall. There's a reason, of course, that he got her the room that he did, I guess. But also allows him to plot his next point. So we know now at this point that, he's laid out the situation with the mom. I don't know if that's another one where maybe, again, her guard's up. I don't know if, sleeping in the room is not bad. And again, this is a obviously trope. We're not like, Marion Crane, not looking for the clues. It's what happens in these movies. Anybody's not looking for the clues at this time. So, I guess even the people in the town are just like, Bates Hotel, we're just going to let that be over there No need to go. No need to go investigate Norman Bates. We just don't get like, 6 people over there. Because again, I think we're not gonna get ahead of ahead of ourselves as well with our guy. And I guess a totally deranged psychopath, like there just can be probably an unhingedness level that he can get to where maybe he is able to overpower people in a way. But even still, like, obviously just physically, Norman Bates not the most terrifying guy. So you could just get like, a couple of town folk and just be like, let's just go over to Bates Hotel and just see what the vibe is over there. Because make no mistakes, it's, I guess, not to get it is what it is. In the 60s, I feel like you could still have a couple of town folk go investigate a house. And again, in a horror movie type of way, I think that would, I guess again, but it is, it is what it is. I think again, for Norman Bates specific, you could just go see what's going on for Bates Hotel. But the embezzling money, I guess they call that what, like is that the red herring? I never know necessarily how to use all these, what the proper use of the tropes are in the movies, because it never, spoiler alert, I guess it is what it is. Again, we all know what happened in Psycho at this point. It dropped in 1960. Hey, yo. But, never really, again, becomes like a major plot point. I'm trying to think if he even, I think maybe Bates accidentally throws it away. I guess we'll see what happens here at some point. But, I don't know if you guys hear the water running in the background, but I don't know, again, if there is obviously a more iconic scene in in movie history, chat. It is what it is, but of course sets the tone for, because I mean, everything from the score, again, the visuals of the door opening through the curtain, sort of the natural reveal that you get just from what that is. And then, I mean, again, it is the 60s, so, maybe not the most terrifying, again, convincing thing. I mean, Norman Bates is a good, I guess, hey, yo, chat, we got the mom, whoever it is it Norma? Whatever. I don't think we actually ever get contact on Marion Crane. I think, does Marion Crane die of, I think maybe it's actually just panic and a heart attack that takes down Marion Crane. Actually pretty good defense, chat. Makes out clean. No, at least face, neck up. All body shots for the knife is, I guess, something in the defense. But again, Norman Bates, the knife is at least a foot and a half away. There's really no real contact. It still is missing, I guess, the advancements of 2025 technology. But, chat, Janet Leigh just dropping over the edge of the tub, AO, is pretty crazy. I don't know. Did they have like a mat down there? Concussion CTE, Janet Leigh from the Norman Bates scene. Pause. But, yeah. And then the water into the eye. And, of course, obviously one of the iconic, just, again, the twists as well, too, of the Janet Leigh sort of star. And that's, again, like, that's how the twist sort of is propped up, is you have killing the star of the movie. Again, the star of the movie being the lead of the movie. I just don't necessarily know, again, where these people were at in their careers to know what her actual star level was at the time. And then her star level is going to ascend after this as well, too. And this is going to be a major defining part of the legacy. But, and again, the use of music in this movie is really great, because this is actually a time when there's no music, and the silence is really deafening. You have the water running, the pan around the room. You just kind of have her left, of course, dead, the money left out, and then we get cutting back to the Bates reaction and, the quote-unquote interaction between him and this mom at this point. Bates has got to slide down into the room and, I guess, resolve the situation. Hey, yo. But, and of course, reacting like he's shocked about what happened. Anthony Perkins Speaking of Donald Pleasance, chat, speaking of Donald Pleasance throwing 120, Anthony Perkins 125 as Norman Bates, maybe a 130. I don't know what the record for pitching is in this, but yeah, chat. Again, just his sort of uneasiness in this. There's an unsettlingness that he gives off in this movie that is really intense, because it does feel like, again, now a lot of guys are either, you're going like supernatural with it, so that's just a whole nother sort of element, or you're going like crazy psycho killer that just becomes a little like, not, again, like obviously Norman Bates is as deranged as you get, but just in the performance and in what the character is always just a deranged character, where again Norman Bates is at least giving those moments of acting, like suppressing, again, kind of, the psycho that he is. And I know that, again, we're just talking the terms of the movie as well too, and obviously, I mean, we wouldn't want anybody with like a Norman Bates condition to kind of, have a, kind of resulting in killing as well too. But again, just for the tropes of the horror movies and for the conversation of this character alone as well too, like when he is, just kind of trying to suppress that psycho nature, the way that he is able to portray that as an actor is one of the great sort of, again, uneasy performances that you get in a movie just across any era for our guy Anthony Perkins, chat. Shout out. Great performances by Perkins. Any, I guess, Kendrick Perkins game, we need to just look up the best Kendrick Perkins game, and then Anthony Perkins. Oh, also Sam Perkins as well too. So I don't know if there's any quarterback Perkins that we're forgetting about. Actually, there is. I forget about him, so I don't remember what team he played for. Oh, what's his name? Sam Perkins as well too. Bryce Perkins, maybe Virginia. I forget. But shout out. Didn't expect to bring him up in the Psycho rewatch, but we had stock, chat. It is what it is. I don't know. Maybe USFL run for our guy Bryce Perkins. But of course, trope that the stuff that Hitchcock, our guy Hitch, develops in this movie as sort of his stereotype tropes are things that, and again, with this movie on the schedule of something that we were going to rewatch, I also was rewatching a couple of the De Palma movies as well too, because of course Dressed to Kill is a direct homage to this movie as well. But the double sort of protagonist flipping that in the movie, again, is something that I guess is established after this, but is very, again, cleanly handled. And it is a lot to say that, again, you go her embezzle, it doesn't mean to it, that's not the point. Norman Bates is actually the point. Norman Bates is revealed, much later in the movie. Like I feel like Norman Bates runtime and Marion Crane runtime wouldn't be too dissimilar. Again, it is kind of basically the halfway point in this movie. So you do get maybe, I guess, maybe 10, 15 minutes of interaction. I guess maybe 5, 10, 7 to 15 minutes. I don't know. I can never tell time in movies. But you do get a little bit of a stretch there of dialogue and kind of building out the background for him. But for the most part, again, it is a couple of scenes, especially, of her with the chase, embezzling stuff, and then kind of a bookend that of them kind of chasing Norman Bates down as well too. And you get, 1960s cover up body technique. Of course, OJ DNA chat. It really changed a lot of these types of things. Like, I don't know what kind of DNA evidence. Like, I don't know if Norman Bates, what kind of stuff he's able to get away with as well too. And again, we don't really know how active he's been. Is there like a report in this town of, is there starting to go people be missing? Is this something that he only does? Maybe people just, again, actually, like he's saying, so rarely stumble in that it's people can kind of go disappearing sporadically enough without people noticing as well. Because if it is off the beaten path, like, if it is off off a main sort of area, and it's like, okay, people are traveling in this direction, then all of a sudden, these people go missing. Like, it would, if it's really a lone structure out there, it would probably be quite high up the target list. It's like, okay, missing people, last seen headed in this area, and there's one building up here, and it's not like so far off the road that apparently you can't get to it through a highway, but also, traffic is not necessarily passing right by there, and you can't quite see it immediately. So, it is maybe something that, again, he just gets lucky enough to get away with by the virtue of how few of them. But it would, again, if it was actually a lot of murders, just Norma Bates just actually going super crazy, then maybe it's understandable. Or maybe this is really the first time that he did snap in this type of way. Again, I know they explained it a little bit more later, sort of how he developed the personality that he has. But I don't remember if they say, I guess, he develops his personality because, unfortunately, R.I.P. maybe Norma Bates. But between that event and when he takes out Marion Crane, I guess they don't really say if he is actually like a psychopathic murderer in this stretch, like a serial killer. Like, is Norman Bates a serial killer because of, I guess because also, again, he kills his mom and his mom's boyfriend. But I think that's the two people he took out, right? But, again, definitely took out R.I.P. his mom. But dude, Norman Bates is wild, chat. Hey, yo. Not a great guy, obviously. But hot take, Norman Bates, crazy kid. But, what were we saying? Just distract us. It's like, hey, yo, it's obviously some other stuff. Oh, yeah, it's, maybe he didn't have, like, a crazy resume of actual kills. Maybe it was a little Mike Myers situation. Maybe, again, was it just nobody showed up? Or was it the fact that nobody else suggested he put his mom in a mental institution? He never talked to the patrons that much. He is kind of short and sweet with the next people that show up, and again, it's not really even encouraging them to stay in business. So it does beg the question, of course, how does he keep the lights on? Electricity bills this time, phone bills, all this different stuff. I don't know if she tries to make a call out at this point, or in this movie, I forget. I think they do, maybe when people return to look around, they do try to make a call out at some point. But they do have lights, they have electricity, they have running water, so it does, of course, maybe he has it hooked up so it just connects to the one room, and he kind of knows that situation will, work itself out. Again, they're not going to be overflooded with rooms, so just when somebody wanders in, he's only got the one room powered up, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to make him stay. I'm not going to give him the key to any other room as well, so might as well. I guess he does give them the key to room 6 at some point. So do they go and see if there's do they turn on the lights in room? Was it 6? He gives them another room, so I forget if they turn on the lights in that room or what. But he does something to keep the money on. I guess he doesn't take the embezzled money though. See, that would have been maybe actually a good use of the money. Again, I get that maybe our guy Hitch wants to probably, he's like, okay, this has to be a red herring to distract people. Again, that's the point, to the shock of what Norman Bates does in taking out Marion Crane. And he, again, doesn't do it with the specifics of getting the money. But she does have it, again. And if he's cleaning out the stuff and stumbles across a lot of this money, it would make sense for he snaps, then Norman Bates, or, Norman snaps, turns into Norma, Norman Bates takes out the people, and then Norman Bates goes back in, disposes of the body, but then also, takes off the valuables and stuff while they're there. It's like, might as well for time being. And obviously, the car's sinking in. You see the psycho smile fully emerge from our guy, Chad Ayo, but just Anthony Perkins, our guy. I'm Norman Bates. I don't know not necessarily our guy, is kind of a messed up guy. But shout out, I think that would have been a good use. So wait, let me see if it confirms here, because I was not paying attention. I forget if he actually puts the money. I think he does. He throws it in the trunk and then just sinks everything into the car afterwards with the money in it. Let's see here, chat. We don't want to scroll too far ahead in the plot and start spoiling everything. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, okay, we did scroll ahead too far. It is what it is. Horrified, he cleans the murder scene, places in the bar her belongings, and unbeknownst to him, the cash hidden in her car before sinking the vehicle in a swamp. Hey, yo, it is what it is. So, obviously, there are tons of swamps in the Phoenix area. I guess, where does it say this is set at? She's set to drive to Sam's hometown of Fairville, California, switching cars in Bakersfield. Okay, so she's in Bakersfield, California. Heavy rain for... Oh, a few miles from Fairfield. Okay, so she almost made it, chat. So close. I guess that explains why. Of course, then Sam and those guys are able to get over there so quickly. Sam and I believe the sister. Yeah, the sister, Lila. Lila, yeah, arrives in Fairfield a week later. Tells Sam about the theft and demands information about Marion's whereabouts. That is the scene that we're getting, and this is the investigator now that is showing up as well too, chat. You love a smug looking private investigator from back in the day. Sorry, chat, we gotta take a long pause for some drink breaks. It is what it is. But you love, of course, the old school PIs from back in the day. You know, it does it feels like it has totally shifted into the just, you know, you don't want to say Secret Service because that's like, you know, the government, actual government agency version of it versus maybe the private organization. Again, the collaborative, all this stuff. But still, the sort of Secret Service type of guy is obviously the more private investigator type now that may solve some stuff. But the basic private eye, chat. Do we need to bring back private eyes? Just a guy like in Columbo, like a guy that just wanders around and asks questions, just finds stuff out. Just give me some leads. I want a guy tracking leads, chat. Just, you know, give me a guy that can read some lines, track some leads. But then, of course, to pivot into the actual next whole plot of the movie where you're still chasing Marion, I guess, you know, still gives them a reason for, I guess, why, you know, I guess that makes sense for sure, why the police would be looking for her as well, too, outside of just the fact that she would be at some point a missing person. And at that point, you know, I guess it could still potentially be in that week-long timeline because I guess in some ways the sister is searching for as a missing person. So it's a little combination of both, I guess, but at least, you know, gets pause, but it gets another force in the mix, searching for the character and, you know, other potential outcomes if there's interactions with the Bates people in the mix. So wait, does he go to all the rooms and tries to find her? That is you know, again, commitment, old school, classic move to the job. So there's no map, you know, there's no GPS. So again, he does, I guess, there's no map. Okay, it is 1960. There were maps in the 60s, Chet, I think. But there's no GPS. So I guess my point, is there a Bates hotel, like, just marked on the map? Does he know just on the list of hotels? Okay, yeah, see, he did say, I almost drove right past you. But it is visible enough to see. So he does have at least the ability to chase certain people in and out and just kind of see what happens. Because, again, make no mistake, if he kills the private eye, I guess, you know, but then, you know, if he offs like 5 people in a week, then there's just going to be a little bit more of an investigation. Than if, I guess, you know, he offs everybody that's looking for him, and then is just sitting there, you know, still a free man at the end of the week. 4 or 5 people just gone. Like, there's definitely going to be a manhunt, and again, there's going to be some coincidental evidence pointing to the location that all these people are driving past. Okay, spot on the highway. Everybody's going this way. Missing persons. Missing persons reports all point in this direction on the highway in this kind of specific area. All kind of attached, relationally, commitmentally, like all kind of attached in this same type of way. Private investigatively. I don't know if that's a thing. Yeah, chat. Not the police. Just a guy. I mean, maybe if he was carrying, I don't know, if old school, like, there's always like that dragnet style kind of underarm, the under the armpit type situation that these guys used to have with the suits. That was always a fun look. Again, just respectfully for these characters in this type of movie. You rarely ever saw it used, and if they did use it, I mean, make no mistake, civilians were never at risk, because in these movies they would just fire into, like, again, like, we're just talking about the plot points in these movies. But again, speaking of Jimmy Stewart, like, there's a scene where the cop just fires into one of the guys running away, and it's just like, okay, there's just like 17 families just like shopping at that mall right there, but it's like they're not in danger. It's it's just how the movies worked back in the day. So again, private investigator could just only, I guess, Norman Bates would be in danger at the situation, but I guess again he is not aware enough to know what is going on. Did they have? Yeah, they do leave the handwriting in the book. So I don't know if this is a little bit more of a, is this a Norman Bates? Is this a one for Norman, one for Norma situation? Because again, he did go full sort of costume, full disguise, full Norma Bates mode, pause, when he took out Marion Crane. So I forget, does he have time to make a change when the private eye is investigating her? Does he have to make is this his improvise, think on his feet, create with the run? This is mobile quarterback play right here. He doesn't have time to go set up. It's like, okay, private investigator, get a room, take a shower. I gotta go, switch up the character real quick and try to commit this murder. But, and that could be a much different scene with the private investigator in the shower. That's for sure. Maybe one that Hitchcock even wasn't going to quite put in his movie. He wasn't quite interested in seeing that, chat. Hey, yo. But, yeah, he is. And I guess I don't remember exactly if he makes it out or not. It's minus 120 that Norman Bates gets him. Again, I don't think Marion Crane is the... Are we a one and done for this movie? Just Janet Leigh, chat? I mean, that would feel almost disrespectful to Janet Leigh. You got to take somebody else out just to prove that, again, Janet Leigh, it wasn't just her just not paying attention, right, chat? Hey, yo, and speaking of not paying attention, Houston, it's 33 to 14 on Colorado. Looks like Dion's going to move to 1-2, chat. Hey, yo, hey, maybe they did the right thing in retiring Shador's jersey, chat. Hey, yo, 500? Not bad, Dion. The best days of Dion. I don't know if that's, the highest earning days of Colorado football history. I don't know. You have to go back and see comparatively. Adjust for inflation. Some of those teams, like national title when they were really good, we'd have to see. Okay, chat. We'll try to make that we'll try to make that the last drink break, but I don't know if it will be. Probably gonna be another one mixed in there or not. See, chat, like immediately, obviously that now something is up. He has, of course, lied earlier, said that he didn't remember, but the remembering and now recalling all the details as well too. Again, classic sort of old school, this guy is guilty type tropes. Oh, so did Colorado make the QB change, chat? Hey, yo, speaking of split personalities, Colorado is quarterback room. Got the Norma Bates situation. Either way, chat, both of them killed the team. Hey, yo, their own team? I don't know. Oh, wait, cabin 12 is the cabin that she was in? Oh, so wait, maybe does he have that situation in like every cabin? So wait a second, chat. Is that a little bit of a, do we need explaining? do we need to know where the other side of that vision, that peephole was that Norman Bates had? Because, again, he had it revealed on one side with a painting. But if he was having it on the other side on the painting as well, like, you would think that it would be a little too big to be the eyeball on a picture or something. But I think it could. Oh, chat, I don't know. It's a pretty, it gets a pretty decent people. And on the one side as well, too, it had, like, all the drywall, like, tore up around it. So it was pretty rough. It was not like a well-concealed even still behind the painting. A well-manufactured peephole situation. It kind of looked like he just, like, smacked, again, like a hammer or something through the wall. Not quite that crazy, but almost borderline in that type of realm. So, I don't know. Unanswerable questions. How was he able to look all the way through and see what was going on? Because there was a window there. So he could have had like I guess, and that just does prove also how creepy he is as well too. Is he got the whole situation rigged to be set up, he can look through and see people in these various rooms. But again, he's just as creepy if he's like intentionally kind of looking through a window as well. You do have the downhill slope. Again, maybe just Marion Crane's just like, I'll leave the sort of curtains open. It doesn't matter. It's a horror movie. It's a slasher movie. We can make that work. So I guess he does let the PI go, chat. What's his name? Argabast, I think is how you say it. So Argabast gets out and is at a telephone booth. We don't know how many miles down the road, so I guess I don't remember. Does Norman Bates follow him and get him as well too? I forget, chat. Phone booth's a good one. You're obviously a little preoccupied with that. I don't think it turns into like a Colin Farrell situation. That would be a little bit of another plot twist. See, chat, calling Loomis? Ayo, you love to hear it. I love the homage pays and all the same names. I mean, anything to, of course, bring up Donald Pleasance is going to be a win for us in film history. Shout out. Donald Pleasance is one of the GOATs for the Rem and Sam must-watch pod. I mean, we would have put Donald Pleasance on our first team All-Tubi. First ballot All-Tubi, I guess, for the Rem and Sam Tubi Hall of Fame. But still not maybe quite the lead man role in the same way. But again, between Loomis and the president of the United States in Escape from New York, I'm the Duke of New York, and I'm one. Like, he is, and then in that Columbo episode I was telling you about, he is really, of course, got quite a fun, stacked filmography. So we got, able to at least lay out a couple of details for our guy Loomis. I don't know, maybe Norman Bates smart enough to let him at least complete the phone call before taking him out. You take him out while he's on the phone, of course, the person on the other end could be there as a reliable, just a person that knows what happened to witness, get somebody on the scene. So he does, I guess, Bates pacing around. Where does this take us, chat? Because, of course, Loomis and Lila are about to show up. I don't think he has anything left to dispose of. Okay, so we just get the car. And, Argabos, is he back? Speaking of Columbo, chat, is this like a one last thing situation? You love back in the bench seat days, sliding out across to the passenger drawer to get out was a classic move, I feel like. I don't know if anybody does that anymore. But, again, you kind of got all the middle seat situations keeping you locked in. But look at the center console there. But Chad, he's back. See, I don't remember. Is this a cut in time or what? Did he go back and drive around? What happened? You got the taxidermy raven, the owl, silence, a creepy vibe, no Norman Bates. The safe is open. So is that where he keeps the stuff? No, because he has the stuff in the house as well, too. Nothing in the safe. A suspicious thing of another red herring situation. This is going to be the tense part right here, chat. See, I forget how this kind of sequence of events plays out here. So we'll have to see when Norman Bates is sort of jump scare brought back in. Does he go back up to the house? Hey, yo, Argabost getting a little confident in his abilities. I mean, just the staircase alone, chat, is enough to be like, what do I really need to go up into that house for? It is what it is. You got the whole, you got the hotels and stuff down there. I don't know if there's like a main. Maybe that's where the amenities is at, chat. Hey, yo, is that where it was back in the day? Like, it's like the lobby of the hotel, or it's like the pool table on the first floor of the house, where the hotel guests can come gather and play. It's like put some quarters in for pool. I don't know. I think it might have been like a dime or something a little cheaper back in the day. But hat off, chat. Argabost, he's respectful. You know, just in case the mom's in the mix, he doesn't want to, you know, be rude. Classic 1960s manners. Hey, yo, chat, for only a couple of them that maybe he would have had. But this is in, I forget if this is like just kind of silent, chat. Again, it does go silent, and then it's almost kind of like these, again, it just like kicks in like right when Bates strikes. And like right when the tense stuff happens a lot. It's a little, I don't know if Jaws kind of pays homage to this in that type of way. I don't know. Jaws, you do kind of have, again, kind of those couple of note like build-ups, like the doo-doo-doo-doo, and then it kind of builds up. But it is kind of that same. And maybe that, oh, chat, yeah, that's a good one. Hey, yo. See, this is a little, I don't know, Exorcist 3 maybe does have a couple of Norman Bates type stuff. Like, that is a little Exorcist 3-ish right there. And see, I don't know, Janet Leigh, maybe I don't know if there was something in the making of where Janet Leigh was like, I'm not gonna get cut up in this. Like, obviously I don't think they were really cut up, damaging the guy that played Argabost, hopefully not. But he did get, of course, cut across the face. They did do like a slash, like a bloody slash on his face. And then the fall down a stair, like Vertigo kind of shot, was pretty cool. But just the way that, he had that frame from up top where he was on the stairs, again, up the stairs, and then you have the Bates character just flash out of the room with the knife and take him out. And again, actually that time the knife getting close contact. So again, I don't know if they filmed that Marion Crane scene like 4 years beforehand. It's just like technology, like 2 decades beforehand. It's like, okay, just technology is just not quite in place yet. We still haven't learned how to get the knife closer in movies. But whatever happened between the Marion Crane kill and the Argabost kill, is that hot take, chat? That's the best kill in the movie, is the Argabost kill. The Marion Crane kill, actually not that good, but just, maybe more iconic. It is what it is. So I don't remember, again, how many actual on-screen gets our guy Norman Bates has. I don't know if that's another thing as well, that maybe, we start doing all-time villain rankings. I don't know if body count necessarily matters in that type of list. And, Michael Myers is going to, a guy like Michael Myers is going to have the benefit of, again, more franchises, movies than a guy like Norman Bates, even though, again, Norman Bates has been a couple at this point, a couple more than we thought. But even Michael Myers has, I don't know, I forget, does he have like 6 kills in that first movie? So he has at least one couple kill at some point. So he is then, at that point already caught up with Bates for the overall movie. But if we have to choose between the two, I think the pacing and the way it plays out is a little bit funner on the Argabost one than the Crane one. And I guess the Crane, again, it's like the whole first half of the movie, but the whole interaction once she's at the hotel and just the vibe of introducing us to the hotel and setting us up with that. Like, it is a little, it's definitely like, taking its time, set it up, and, really let us get into the kill moment there, the Norma Bates moment. But you do also still get a pretty good buildup on that second one, AO, as well too. And like I said, the flash of it is a little bit more effective. I don't know. They're both kind of cool. Like that slow, like in the background, you can kind of barely see it start to emerge, and then it become a real threat. Is as cool as again that sort of quick flash out of nowhere type moment. But that quick flash is definitely a little bit more susceptible to get me with the jump scares as well too. And that's not necessarily, I think, again, a type of angle that is a good jump, or not a good, but not a commonly used, even now, jump scare angle. Like the above chat, ayo. Like the sort of over the top POV. And again, you get a good him going up the stairs. I don't know, it just kind of is a good setting for that as well too. And you have the door right there by the top of the stairs. I don't know why he wasn't necessarily locked in on the surroundings around there. It should have been enough maybe for him to fight off a little bit. But that, again, understandable. You get one good sort of move and then push down the stairs. You can definitely take out a private eye in these types of movies with that formula. So, only one hope left, chat. A guy, Sam Loomis. Hey, yo, much more capable Sam Loomis. I mean, I wonder, I don't know if you have to look up this guy's career here real quick. I wonder if he would have been around for Halloween and almost could have played the actual Dr. Loomis. Oh, John Gavin? So, wait, let's see. John Gavin was U.S. Ambassador to Mexico. Whoa. When was this, chat? This was in the 80s, 81 to 86. So, R.I.P. passed away in 2018, 86 years old, chat. Let's see here. I don't know, I guess ambassador to Mexico. They do have some other political, I guess, Reagan at the time of signing. So does that automatically, if you're an ambassador, I mean, I'm assuming that, again, everybody that they're appointing is going to be favored in their party in some way, even if it's still like ambassador versus just the closest person in your cabinet. But I don't know, like are ambassadors, there's like zero. Do ambassadors have any policy? I guess, is there literally any policy that they can have or make or anything like that they can do? Like, I think it's literally just like representation, right? AO. So, or just like them being around, I don't know. So I feel like that could just be more literally whoever, but I guess then you're in that. So I don't know. But again, I don't know anything about this guy's views as well too. So if we read up on those, maybe it would times like this, chat, it doesn't even matter. But I guess we're talking about his ability for his timeline in the film history. So Halloween was 79. 1978, chat. 1978 was the year that movie came out. So you got this guy 18 years after Psycho. I don't know if he's quite weathered. Let's see. Weathered enough, chat. 31. So he would have been. He's 29 when he's making this movie. Am I doing the math right there? 30 to 60. 31. But if you go in, again, another, what would we say, 78 for Halloween. So if you go another 18 years, we've got him at like, I was going to say 30s, 47 years old. So I don't know how old Donald Pleasance was when he is at San Luis. Chat, if I'm bad at spelling, make no mistake, I'm even worse at math. So if he was not 47 when the original Halloween dropped, then, it is what it is. But Pleasance would have been 1919 to... So he would have been 69? Is that right? 69, 59, 69? 50s, 60s? In it, I guess, basically about 60s when he was making Halloween. So this guy would have been a little bit of a younger, a little bit more of a stout Dr. Loomis as well, too. You actually would have thought he would maybe have actually handled himself against Michael Myers. Like, okay, maybe you're not totally help us. Again, I don't know if Donald Pleasance, weaponless, is hanging with Michael Myers in any type of real way. But he is, could have made it back around. Shout out. We're not recasting Donald Pleasance, make no mistake. I mean, he's a legendary guy that we appreciate. But, yeah, again, his capability definitely would have been there as well, too. So, you kind of course, now that that's been confirmed that she was there, because again, he did make the call, they do know that that is the place, then at least now he's starting to be looked at a little bit by these people. But at this point, you're still carrying on in the movie, at least the trope, and it's always going to be his personality, is I guess that split personality as well. But I guess they haven't necessarily like fully shown the they haven't shown him get in the disguise, or they haven't shown him say the voice in on-screen way as well too. So there's the overhead look of the way that they murdered Argabost. So I forget, is Norman like thrown out here, because you have the mother, of course, getting in a quote unquote mother getting in an altercation with Norm. Oh, is he carrying her? Oh, okay, so that's where he carries her downstairs, and then stay tuned for how that might be brought up a little bit later. Oh, chat, there's an extra in this scene that is, I'm not going to go through and figure out who the name of this is. Shout out! I guess we probably should. But she's been in a couple of TV shows that we've loved over the years. I'm sure she's been in all of them, because that's how the TV shows extras were back in the day. These people were just people were hustling, chat. They were working. Everybody was Samuel. Just like bit parts for everybody. But, yeah, she is iconic as well, too. I mean, I'm sure the guy she's with is iconic. Shout out. I mean, again, when you're only casting one type of people in this movie, this is a lot of roles to go around. So these people were just getting every role. It is what it is. Like, okay, you're the star in every movie. You're the bit actor in every movie. You're the psychic guy in every movie. Same people all the time. It is what it is. But it is what it is. But that's unfortunately the history it was back in the day. Hopefully, of course, roles continue to get more and more diverse, and just more and more opportunities as well too. But Sam and Lila are up next for headed up to the Bates Hotel. So again, maybe a little, I guess, Patrick Wilson-y as well too. I don't know if Patrick Wilson is sort of the Loomis without the Loomis name. And he is, because I don't know, Patrick Wilson, and I guess it would make more sense that he's more like another leading man than maybe the real Ed Warren. But he is, if they were trying to maybe go with a little bit more casting in that type of way, again, there still is a capability that a guy like Patrick Wilson has in the movies, where again, he's maybe not Hemsworth in every movie, just being like the most ripped up guy on screen, but he does have a presence about him where you're not, even if you're like fighting off supernatural stuff, you're like, okay, if we have to throw hands with the supernatural, like maybe Patrick Wilson can hang, like Sam Loomis, maybe he can hang. If you see him and Norman Bates, like kind of again standing next to each other, and it does seem like you'd be pretty well protected with Sam. Like, unfortunately, of course, Sam Loomis probably should have, there should have been a meetup situation, and you're on the run here. We'll get to the hometown. I don't know if Fairview, where were they going? Fairview? Is that like a no extradition rule to Phoenix? I don't know why they needed to get there. Maybe just to hide, and again, kind of clean the money as well too. But yeah, I think unfortunately, if Sam Loomis had been there, she might have been okay. And make no mistake, I mean, Sam Loomis could have still stood in front of Marion Crane, like in that shower scene, to protect her. And just there's so much space between the knife and Marion Crane that it still is probably not hitting Sam Loomis at that point. Like, they're both fine. Like, he's, of course, protective, kind of shielding. And it's like, Norma Bates just totally missing. Not even close. They would both just make it out okay. And then maybe, again, Sam could maybe, but I guess not to jump like 2 minutes ahead, but he does, of course, you know, Norman Bates does, as you would expect as a psycho, get a pretty good couple of rounds, AO, in the boxing sense. That's also kind of a pause, but you know what I'm saying, in the UFC sense, is also able to kind of win a couple of points on him, but still overall, of course, we feel pretty good about our guy Sam as well. So, you know, trying to be on to him. Pause. Gotta try to get the different rooms. Try to maybe get him out of his rhythm. You know, you gotta go into his home territory. So how do you go against the home field advantage? Maybe you get him in some unfamiliar rooms, in some unfamiliar situations. You know, maybe no peephole wall painting scenarios in this room. Other end of the hotel, can discuss, hey, yo, chat, obviously. It's what you do in a hotel. First thing you do, you show up and start discussing. But you can discuss the plot. You can discuss the case. And maybe he can't overhear as well. What he needs is like a row of those like plastic cup wire walkie-talkie systems where somebody just talks in one end and then you can hear it out the other end. And the beer pong cup walkie-talkies, chat. He needs like a row of those all the way up into the office. Just like, don't worry about it. That's my beer pong walkie-talkie set. Like, hey, just hearing through everyone. That's his Batman Lucius Fox. You can't have this. This makes you too powerful. You can hear it in every room in your hotel. You've got the beer pong communicator, V1. And it's looking like a smash success. But sneaking off, chat. Time to go investigate the room. Time to go see what's happening. And again, Norman, at this point, you got to scramble. They're going to be occupied with investigation. You can sit there and try to, cook up other investigative type stuff, I guess, to help them out with. But at this point, you kind of just got to let them cook and kind of let them just develop their own things and see what happens after that. And if the two are able to, get it to happen, but hey, whoa. But we got them now. They're close, chat. They're close. They're in the hotel room. Unfortunately, the money's gone at this point. Any trace, any belongings are gone. A useful 40,000. If anything, you're like, this 40K was, unfortunately we would never use it, but also, nobody else can use this in honor, right? 40K, that's a lot, chat. Obviously, Marion Crane didn't steal 40K for nothing. So it's still got to be believable. Yes. Okay, so that, no shower curtain is obvious. I feel like you would definitely know that some figure has been added or subtracted from 400,000. So yeah, that proves that she was there. Is that the car that she bought? She's using the cash, using the money. I guess also, it at their mind maybe gives them a motive for why this person. Obviously, you don't expect. Okay, so this guy has the vibe of maybe he has the personality of his mother from time to time and impersonates her and tries to make her real and maybe it would actually be like, yeah, this motive makes sense. It's like, oh, I have $40,000, quite a bit. Do we do inflation calculator, chat? 1960, $40,000, 1960 to 2025. How much money did Marion Crane embezzle from her bosses, chat? Is the question of the day. If it's over 500K, that's quite the move, chat. Okay, so again, not necessarily made in the 60s, but September 1960. Let's see what we got here. Though, I think I may also said the 70s. Let's see. What am I doing wrong, chat? Ayo, pause. 40K? Not a valid number? It's not a valid number about 40K. Is comma in the right spot? Ayo. That website is tough. Do we call it out, chat? I don't know. I think we just move it on to the next one and see. Okay, if you purchased an item in 1960, purchased an item. It was, let's just randomly throw it, $14. In their year is 2025. Let's see, that same item would be $153,000? Is that what it's saying? It's saying 153.23. So it's either $153,230 or it's like, 1.5323 million. Who knows? But either way, still quite a bit. So Marion Crane running with 150K in 2025. That'd be pretty good. Pretty sort of, kind of combo worth it / enough money to make you greedy, to make you want to try to go for it in the first place. But shout out, the sister, of course, investigates the house while Bates, distracted by Loomis as well. Of course, again, like we were saying earlier, with sometimes the actors can get away with things with the people in the room. Just, they can like overtly do something for the audience, and that people in the room are just gonna be like, okay, time out for the movie for just a second. We'll just let them cook the line, and then, okay, now we're back in, or something like that. But for the, of course, again, discovery of Mrs. Bates, I'm trying to think if she finds it right away, or not like right away, but if she finds it and then the stuff goes down, or if that's like a post-credit situation almost. But, underrated mansion, of course, chat. I don't know who is responsible for the, the look and the sort of, just what the overall design is. But speaking of copying, definitely very copyable. Definitely a lot of things that I could see being brought into looks and consistent outfit changes most of the time. So as she tries to find clues, of course, like we're saying, Sam Loomis is trying to distract the and chat, that scared me for a second. Hey, yo, the mirror scare. She looks up and into the mirror with the mirror behind her. She sees her own reflection in the mirror behind her. Just that sort of mirror inception. And just the, the subtle use of jump scares every now and then. Not even barely applied. Oh, chat, cold bed? Maybe? Or was it warm bed? Somebody just laying down? Honestly, I really have no idea, because I know that she continues to discover around there. So I guess if it's a cold bed, hey, yo. You're like, obviously nobody's been there. I guess I gotta continue to look. But if it's a warm bed, it's like, oh, wait a second, somebody was just here. I gotta go see where maybe they went as well too. So they're both probably gonna prompt the same thing. So, yeah, the search would just have to, just move to the next thing, regardless, at this point. But she's able to get quite a long ways through the house, really take in some of the details. The kids' room is the one that is still active. You've got the vinyls. You've got the, maybe Norman Bates is a little lonely up in the hotel, chat. Hey, yo, back in the day, as he got vinyls in as the freaky time, chat. Hey, yo. That's some wild old school methods, chat. Hey, yo, vinyls is crazy. I don't know, is that just instrumentals? Or is there like some skits on there that he keeps rewinding? I don't know. But Sam does, I gotta say, do a pretty good job of, kind of tricking him, out talking him. It really does, of course, maybe cast Arbogast in a little bit of a tough light. Seems like you really ask him, push him on a couple of questions, and all of a sudden everything really starts to fall apart at this point. And I think Bates at some point catches on to what's going on as well. And this is what I'm saying, where at least Bates is able to, chat, yeah, see, we just kind of cut to all of a sudden they're struggling, and Bates is just able to get his hands on like a little trophy and knock Loomis unconscious head up toward the house. So we've got, of course, Lila at this point hiding, going straight for the basement. I mean, just really here throwing up all the classic, early kind of what would become some horror trope thriller, Hitch type, tropes in terms of the movie making sense for our guy Alfred. But making these decisions, just like, of course, heading straight for the basement to hide is classic stuff. And that's where I think we would about to get the big reveal for the episode. Oh, chat. Yikes. I mean, even still, it all still works, chat. It all still works. I know the hair at the, the way it's the body is situated around in the chair. Again, 1960s, you do get maybe the old school. Oh, chat, and the Norman Bates running in. Hey, yo, it still works. Again, fortunately, our guy Sam Loomis, no CTE, is able to make it's like Devontae Adams, chat. Just completely unconscious, full recovery, and able to take our guy Norman Bates. Again, Norman Bates is, if there's no objects to get the knock unconscious with, he is taken out pretty easily. Sam Loomis able to restrain him, take down the knife. Maybe that's the Norma personality as well too. I guess we're not trying to get controversial, but maybe as as an elder, maybe she's just in a weaker state as well too, able to the Norma personality, not quite able to keep up with just a younger person. Would be a little tough. But that the whole scene works. Chat. Hitchcock is a legend for a reason, and it is the beginning of what would become, of course, one of the great genres. And hot take from us over here, but is definitely something that we're continuing to get into more and more, and fun to go back and remember the starting point with kind of this stuff as well. And again, to see what does work just in terms of this still holds up. And again, there's obviously stuff in the back of the day that's obviously this stuff's not going to hold up, but just the filmmaking aspects of it as well too is fun to try to go back and compare and see what was working and what we've stuck with, what we built on, how have stuff just become more complex and advanced throughout time. But yeah, chat, shout out again. Still, I would say it would be one of those old movies. I don't know if every old movie is obviously one that you can recommend. There's gets to a certain era where it's you kind of just have to be in it, or you kind of have to be into the style of movies, just old movies, or it has to be a holiday classic again, It's a Wonderful Life. It's just gonna get rewatched every year. So yeah, it's just almost become habit more so, and quality as well too. Even though I think that one might be over 2 hours. That might be a little long. I don't know. Maybe it's a shorter one. I don't remember. But that's obviously one that you're throwing on every year at a certain time but just in terms of the daily watchers, I don't know if the certain era gets the respect as the daily watchers as some of the eras do. But this would definitely be one that's if somebody wants to hey, do I throw on Psycho tonight and watch Psycho? Do you want to watch a good movie? Because obviously this is gonna hold up in all the ways. And even the guy, lawyer, psychiatrist guy that has to step in and explain the Norman Bates condition in this movie is really great in the whole monologue as well too. Again, speaking of, is it Basic Instinct again, where you have the one psychiatrist is you're dealing with a person so psychotic and so deranged that they'd be willing to pin this on another person. And kind of same energy from this guy as well too. At times he could be both personalities, carry on conversations. At other times the mother half completely took over. Shout out to the closed captioning. We just don't, obviously the monologue from the 60s Psycho ending is not something that we just have queued up and ready to go. But who knows? Maybe we continue to watch it, and it is something that we just memorize over time as well too. But yeah, Norman Bates, like they're saying, of course, takes out the mom, assumes the personality to keep her alive, has the psychotic killing sprees as well too. Unfortunately, R.I.P. to Marion Crane as the lost victim of the movie, chat. It is what it is. But they got Norman Bates, and I don't know, I think they say Psycho 2 he gets out of, he serves his time basically. So he serves like 20 years and completes treatment, I think is what they say here. Let's double check here. What's the starting plot of Psycho 2, chat? Oh man. Hopefully we don't spoil Psycho 2 too much. We don't want to, we want to be able to watch this movie. We want to be able to watch it and enjoy it, chat. Hey, so this will explain, I guess, yeah, Legacy. I just saw Dress to Kill on there, so I was like, yep, this has got to be all the... Oh, here we go. The opening theme, sampled by rapper Busta Rhymes on his song, Give Me Some More. Yeah, shout out. That's, like we're saying, great song as well, too. Great beat. Psycho franchise. Psycho for the beginning. Yeah, that was the documentary, right? Oh, no, that was the slasher. This is just a slasher film. So yeah, this has got a theatrical release and everything. Hey, yo. So here, let's see. Psycho 2. Again, Norman Bates is back in the mix. Vera Miles back in the mix as well too. Norman Bates is released from a mental institution and despite protests of Marion Crane's sister. Layla Loomis. Oh, chat. Layla and Sam. Hey, yo. It is, Marion out of the picture. What do you do? 65. Against the violence of Dr. Bill Raymond. He moves to his old home behind Bates Motel and starts working in a diner. A waitress there, Mary Samuels, gets thrown out of her boyfriend Scott's place, and Norman offers her to stay at his home. Oh, chat, this is like Barbarian, almost, or whatever that movie is. Like, what happens if the wrong kind of stranger house situation. So that is a good premise, chat. I'm in on the setup, the little beginning part of that movie there. So I know that nothing, of course, has lived up hype-wise, all-time-wise in terms of the OG Psycho. But that seems like it could be a interesting going forward point for the rest of the series, and maybe there's some belovedness with the rest of the movies as well, too, that, of course, the franchise is just, in general, a beloved franchise. But Psycho 3, I mean, I don't know if this is going to spoil the fact that people murdered or whatever, but Norman Bates is still manning the desk at Bates Hotel and living with the preserved corpse of his real mother. So by Psycho 3, he's just back at it again, ayo. He's just in the same routine from the Psycho 1. Marion Coyle, a mentally unstable nun, is on the top of Bell Tower about to commit suicide when another nun tries to get her to get down. Marion accidentally pushes her over the railing to her death. Another nun tells Maureen that she will burn in hell. She is forced to leave the Covenant after this ordeal. Yeah, that's a tough one, chat. And then you go back to Bates. So that one's an accidental one, more so than the whatever we got going on in number 2 as well. But shout out, chat. All these years later, like we're saying, it is a classic. Janet Leigh, a legend. Vera Miles, John Gavin, Alfred Hitchcock. These guys still, they know how to make a movie, chat. They don't make them like they used to. It is what it is. But yeah, shout out. We'll be back, of course, for the Sunday live stream, following along to the NFL games, having a good time watching week 2. We're gonna be having a good time watching the fight tomorrow night as well too. Canelo Crawford, can't wait for that. Of course, the day of college football is gonna be fun. We'll be back reacting to all that stuff and more, like we said, on the Sunday live stream. So thank you guys for tuning in. We actually made it through the Psycho rewatch this time, though. Of course, again, shout out to our guy Sam. We look forward to hearing from him the next time. DM us at RemingTonM and guess what the Chiefs' record will be the next time Sam calls in. Will it be 3-5? Will it be like they go and they win the next? Is it like if they win this week? Is it like call in Beard? Like he has to call in every week till they keep winning? I don't know how it works, but yeah. Anyways, like we said, you can follow us here on the YouTube for the live streams. They do get posted on the podcast feeds afterwards as well too, so you can follow RemingTonM as a podcast on the podcast feeds, and you can send us messages at RemingTonM on Instagram. The DMs are open over there. And like I said, same bat time, same bat channel. Of course, I guess literally next week, next Friday, hopefully. But also, like we said, Sunday, the Rem and Sam Zone. Ayo, Sam, Rem Zone? Whatever we call it, chat. Ayo, it's back. Week 2, NFL action. Danny Dimes, we can't wait, chat. Are we getting hyped about the Colts? Not yet. We're not going to let ourselves. We're only going to get hyped about McCarthy. It is what it is. And Janet Leigh, I'm watching it again, chat. Just the opening scene. Okay, I got to go. We'll see y'all Sunday. Peace.